Yeah, we're good to go. Hi, guys. Welcome to Simon Says Bets, your daily sports betting podcast. We literally just kind of made this up, so, whatever. It was on the fly. We did it yesterday or last week, and it came out pretty well. Oh, man, that game last night. And that lottery, huh? Right? Oh, man.
I know we kind of disagreed about it last night already. Shocker. I feel that's the last team, if the NBA had a choice of who they wanted to get it. I mean, I feel New York's the obvious answer with LA being a close second, but for the Pelicans to get it, man, that's...
You know what? If you haven't noticed, for the last, 7 years now, New Orleans seems to get their way whenever they need it. I don't know what's going on.
No. Whichever team the NBA needs to help gets its way. Because Cleveland won 3 lotteries in 4 years.
After losing LeBron. But the thing is, the year... Okay, so, I remember this because, as a Hornets fan, Charlotte Hornets fan, excuse me, the year we were up... The year where we had the worst record in the NBA and the lockout shortened season, when our winning percentage was basically nothing, we had... I think it was 0.02 of a point worse than Philadelphia's 9-63 season. Yeah, it was a shortened season.
Yes. And it was still worse. Found a way.
So, no, I remember that year. And the fact that, that year, the NBA owned the Hornets, and they got sold at the same time to the Benson family, who owns the Saints. That same year, they got the team sold. They blocked the Chris Paul trade. That would have changed the actually that talk about a butterfly effect of blocking that trade. And then they also got the All-Star game, and they got the number 1 pick, which turned into Anthony Davis, who's been since LeBron, and probably up until this coming draft with Zion, the most heralded recruit / kid to come in to the NBA in probably ever. So,
Do you actually think, though, that Chris Paul at that point in his career, because he's still been 25, 26, 27, somewhere around that area, would work well with Kobe? As headstrong as the two of them are?
You know what? Maybe I'd like to say yes, but I know no.
I mean, because isn't Chris Paul
the
one that's indirectly blamed for the failure of the Clippers by everybody involved? They haven't outright said it because obviously he's still playing and they're all still playing.
Yeah, but the way that team was constructed, they had no shooters. It just didn't really work.
But when it was constructed, they didn't need shooters in the NBA.
It's true, but
I'm going to ask the question. Is Chris Paul the most overrated player of the last 10 years?
No.
15 years?
No, but he's going to be one of those guys, in 20 years... when people go back and look at who played then? It's who were Dwayne Wade's contemporaries, LeBron James, and then they're going to come across and they're going to start seeing year over year stats, and they're going to who is this guy? Who did all this? Why didn't he win? Why didn't he win more? Why wasn't he a part of things?
Now, Chris Paul's going to be properly rated. I think he will actually end up getting a championship.
He's one of the weird guys that's probably been accurately rated at all times throughout his career.
Yeah, but when it's all said and done, I'm going to say he's probably going to end up being a top 3 point guard all time.
You say that, but it's
But then it comes back to the inconsistency. If we're going off of titles, which MJ titles, LeBron titles.
I personally don't like going off titles because I think.
Robert Horry has more titles than MJ.
Yeah, and Bill Russell does have more than all of them.
And Robert Horry has hit as many big game playoff closing out shots as Michael Jordan. I think it's 2-2.
And more than Kobe as well. You know what's even funnier than that is the fact that who else has 5 titles? That no one talks about? Tim Duncan and Dennis Rodman. So I'm just saying.
Can we talk about the shot real quick?
The shot?
The shot. I mean, is there another shot from this weekend, that Kawhi shot? We haven't talked since then.
No, we haven't talked about that at all.
That's I didn't see it live, and I heard about it, and it's how long did this take? And then I watched the replays, and the replays with sound are the most amazing thing ever because there's 18,000 people quiet.
Time slowed down. I'm watching this live, and I kid you not, it seemed like a 5-minute process from doink, doink, and like you said, it was just silence. Even hearing it on the radio all week long, there was a silence in between the call.
Have y'all seen the photo of
That's
them
amazing.
All? I love that photo.
Which one?
It's
a photo of Kawhi Leonard, or it's an elevated photo from an angle, looking down on Kawhi Leonard after he takes that shot, and he's hunched over, just watching the shot, and everyone else is watching the shot before it goes in.
Joel Embiid is trying to peek around the backboard. The Raptors bench is all behind there, grabbing each other in anticipation. Kawhi Leonard's crouched down as if he just rolled the dice, waiting to see what they're landing on, and everybody's just looking up, and it's I don't know when it was taken, but it feels like it was taken after the first high bounce and before the third and fourth bounce. And they're just like,
The thing is, you know what? I still, granted, the stakes of that shot were higher, even though it could have gotten OT. And it's also only the second time that's ever happened. A game-winning shot during Game 7 of a playoff game for NBA history. First time since the shot when MJ did it. I guess what was it?
That was Game 5 against Cleveland.
Yeah, it was a Game 5 against Cleveland, but it was a close
first or second round.
It was a closeout game.
It was a closeout game.
That was the first time it's happened since MJ did it. So, like, yeah, I get the stakes, but I'm sorry, Dame's shot was better. Dame's shot was better.
Yeah, okay.
The audacity,
Fair enough, I agree.
Just the overall audacity, the swish.
The arrogance of the shot.
Yeah,
my God.
The drama of the Kawhi shot with the 4 bounces, you're like, holy shit, it's going to go in, it's going to go in. But you know what?
Well, not even leading up to that, because they do the switch, they get the mismatch they want, but it's still a 7'2" center who's athletic that pushes Kawhi into the corner, forces this ridiculously high arcing shot. And again, as everybody says, Kawhi did all that in New Balances. And
He did. And actually, honestly, all jokes aside, hold on, actually, this is a joke. Is New Balance not the perfect shoe
if you have
sponsor?
to tell us it's a joke.
No. I'm just saying. Is New Balance not the perfect sponsor for sneakers for Kawhi Leonard?
Not just Kawhi, but a Canadian basketball star. Not that he's Canadian, but he's in Canada.
Well, the other thing with the Dame shot, too, is, he's got arguably a top 3 defender in the NBA on him, and Paul George, and what can you do?
Well, that's the thing. Both of those shots were excellently defended. They could not have been defended even more. And you weren't here, but when I was talking to John about that, is Portland, first they did the right thing. They get the ball. They don't call timeout, because whenever you call timeout in the game, it only helps the defense. It doesn't help the offense, because they still have to inbound it. Mm-hmm. And so they bring it up, and so I'm watching it with like 16, 15 seconds. Like, good, they're not doing that. They get to about 12 seconds. Like, okay, they're not running a play, so he's gonna take
just drive it.
Yeah, and then they get to about 7, and it's like, oh, he's not driving to like get a second shot of a rebound. And then it gets to 5, and it's like, he's gonna shoot it from here. And then he does like a half jab, and then just a sideways back, and then you have one of the best wing defenders in the NBA leaping at him, and the ball goes. And then you hear
splish.
You hear the whoosh as it goes right through the back of the net.
And it was just
pandemonium.
Just the audacity and the fact that he just turned around and
waved bye.
And then he got tackled by his teammates, and he just had I fucking did that.
He looked right into a camera.
He just looked right into the camera like, yeah, I did that. And he was the confidence of a man who was like, he knew he was destined to hit that shot. It was glorious. Now, don't get me wrong. Kawhi shot's amazing.
The suspense, though, I feel like is the only reason Kawhi is even in the category.
Exactly.
Other than it being a game winner.
Well, actually, I think the Kawhi one's historical importance is even more because it's about Toronto basketball.
Yeah, Toronto basketball.
Portland's won a
20
title.
years of miserableness and just
20 in the playoffs.
20 years of, and all you Vince Carter defenders, go F yourself. He could have graduated and walked any time. Chapel Hill would have created a graduation for him to walk down after an NBA title if they wanted to. He did not have to go walk that day. He could have done it any time. He could have done it in the summer. He could have done it in December. He could have done it the following year if they weren't in the playoffs. And he goes and does that. It may or may not have had anything to do with it, but hey, we're blaming him because he did that.
No, quick talk though.
In fact, he's still playing basketball and hasn't gotten as far as that moment. And guess what? He could have walked another 50 times down the aisle since then, and North Carolina would have been all happy about it, and he still would have gotten all the credit. The credit is graduating, not the walking down and getting the diploma.
That's very true.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I completely agree with you. And also, I love the Max Kellerman debate that he sparked last week about Kawhi Leonard being better than Kobe, and all the Kobe defenders out there like, that's not possible. I'm like, and who was it? Who was on the show? The Jay Williams and Stephen A. Who were like, you know what? They're acting like they're walking off set like, this man can't be serious when he says that Kawhi is better than Kobe. I'm like, but he kind of is.
Well, and the weird thing, regardless of getting into the details of that, let's just look at the anecdotal evidence. When who was the butcher of feet, Sasha Pachulia?
Yeah.
When he twists Kawhi Leonard's ankle, that was a 73 win team.
That was a 70 win team. They were what? How much?
That was because that was in the semifinals, right? The second round. Mm-hmm. So they were because they were a 67-win team. It was the year after when they won the first year with Durant.
Yeah, you're right.
And so they made it
because he missed. Yeah,
because they were up by like 20 something or 19, and then he twists the ankle, and then they come back and win. So that the difference in that Spurs team was Kawhi Leonard, to where it's like, oh, the Spurs could beat a team that's won 3 out of 4 titles and won 73 wins, and the one that didn't. And now he's gone, and they're like, oh, well, they have no chance. Whereas at no point when Kobe was leading those teams after Shaq left, before Gasol and Lamar Odom, were they like, oh, well, they're a championship contender and they could beat one of the best teams in NBA history. No. Yet they said that about Kawhi. So, I mean, they might not know what they did, but that's what they said, the announcers and the commentators.
And no, I mean, everyone's like, he has 3 Hall of Famers on his team. Like, okay, first off, Tony Parker's 85,000 years old. Manu Ginobili has been bald for the last 30 years. Who else is on? LaMarcus Aldridge?
One of the 2 greatest players in all of history has been bald since college.
All right, you know what?
So that's not a good disqualifier.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Here's the thing, they had the glue, they had pop, and it's almost a lost art form now to be a complete team, and I think that was our last complete team that was built like that. I mean, obviously, of course, Golden State, but now, adding Kevin Durant, I feel kind of diminishes that. But
well, look at them now without Durant. Look what they're doing.
28-1 when Curry plays and Durant doesn't.
It's a luxury. I mean, several people have said it before. Durant's a luxury, and they didn't need him. So of course you're not going to turn him down. But I think this does solidify that he's going to go. But I'm not saying Portland's going to win the series at all, but they're going to get a game or 2 here. I think they're going to make this even. I think
it's 4. I think it's a clean sweep.
I think
it's going to be close. They were going to need Lillard to be playing like he did in that first series, and McCollum to be playing like he did in that last game. They're not going to get that.
You going to read the rest of that meme?
Yeah.
I need Lillard to play like he did when he scored the 40, McCollum like he did in the Game 7, and I need all the Portland Trailblazers to play like they have the entire thing, and they'll still get swept in 4.
I think they grab 1 or 2.
It's
I think they grab a home one.
He goes Warriors in 4.
Well, actually, I think, Josh, I think that you're correct in that Portland should get 1, possibly 2 games.
In Portland.
Game three, they're almost certainly going to get. But Golden State needs to expend as much effort as they can to make it 4 games, because this Portland backcourt is not what. Yes, Thompson did a fantastic job defending, but they can't have him expend that much effort for the entirety time that he's on the court for this series in order for them to win, because regardless of who he's defending, the Curry's chasing the other one around, and that wears him down as well.
And it's going to hurt the offense, and that's where Kevin Durant does play the role. Is okay, we want Thompson locking down Lillard. It's going to hurt production. That's what we saw last series.
And
Durant actually helps out. Yeah, Iguodala. He's old too, though.
But you have a 6'7" and a 6'9" wing defenders having to play a 6'2" point guard or a 6 foot point guard. That puts more strain on, because they got to get deeper in the crouch. They got to defend more on the wing, and that'll only hurt them if it's Toronto and they have to chase Kawhi, which they've already shown they can't do, and they were 3 years younger doing that.
Yeah.
Or Milwaukee, which is worse. Milwaukee is a bad matchup for Golden State because they're taller everywhere, and Golden State's weakness is rebounding. And but
they out-rebounded yesterday.
Well, Portland is not a tall team, and their best centers.
I just heard the stat. Curry's averaging like 7 rebounds a game in these NBA playoffs,
which is a testament to his being around the basket. But it's
time.
also a testament to the fact that they have no big guys that can grab boards, so he has to be around the basket. It's one of those things. Yes, it's a great stat, but that's a function of them not having rebounders on the front line to grab those boards. But throughout history, it's like, yes, there are some guards that are really good rebounders, but typically they're paired with terrible front courts. If they have rebounding big guys, they don't get those numbers.
Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, it's not going to be interesting. I think it's a clean sweep. I genuinely believe that team plays better without Durant. They just do. Ball movement, everything. They're more fun to watch without Durant. To be honest with you, as much as I hate Curry, the way that man moves without the ball to get open to take a shot is
the Knicks. I hope Knicks fans who detest the way that Houston and D'Antoni ran an offense and play are getting ready to eat all of that crow pie if Durant comes there, because with Durant is the one guy, that is the offense that the Knicks will run, will be what Houston is. He's going to hold the ball until the end. he might not have the ball for the entire 20 seconds, but once it gets to the 10 seconds has passed, he's going to be isolating and setting up, and that's the difference in Golden State. Golden State had the tremendous passing offense, setting up the threes, the motion offense, but they didn't always have somebody that could just close out a game. I mean, they have fantastic shooters and they get open their scoring, but that's why Durant's winning the Finals MVPs, because it's like, oh, the fourth quarter, we need to put points on the board. They give him the ball, he closes down and finishes out.
Now, my question is going to be, who's going to want to go with Durant? I know obviously there's whispers of Kyrie, and whatever they can get in the draft, but is Durant going to be that person who everyone wants to come play with after some of the antics? And granted, taking nothing away from his game, but just some of the post game conferences and I don't want to say childish actions, but childish actions. How the ending of this thing's gone.
You can say that for a guy who's created fake Twitter accounts to defend himself.
So I'm like, and that's why I think him and Kyrie together in New York, the New York media, that's scary to me. I mean, that's.
Yeah, they got their skins about as thin as my taint. So,
yeah,
I mean, I don't think it's going to work out too well. But then again, you know what? Them getting that the number 3 pick, I think actually takes a lot of pressure off them.
I disagree entirely.
You don't?
If they sign both, should they sign both of those guys, they're trading that for a player. Because everybody else is going to be shopping somebody out there for that pick.
Well, there's that talk that they're trying to openly shop for Davis too. So,
that would have only worked if they got the number 1.
And how about this whole this number 1 pick going to be enough to keep out? Hold on, will this number 1 pick, overall pick, be enough to keep Davis? And within 5 minutes, it was already reported
for those
Davis
of you,
doesn't give a shit about this.
For those of you at home, when somebody wants to make a point and not let somebody take it up, all you have to do is put the finger toward them and they'll know to pause. Which John and I were both doing at the same time. But John also did hold on, so everybody at home knew that he wanted to continue speaking.
Just saying, that number 1 pick was not enough to keep Davis, and they're within 5 minutes, it was already being reported on Twitter. Hey, this number 1 pick's not enough to keep Davis. They're he still wants to be traded. So sorry.
Well, but I think it would. I'm sorry, as I'm jumping in on Josh as he looks something up to probably give something much more intelligent and important than I was going to say. I just want to make the point that how despicable the Lakers treated Kyle Kuzma to send him to the draft like a stud horse so everybody can see what we're going to trade with this pick that we get for whatever you have.
Oh, man.
Look how good he looks in his suit. Look how good he looks on television. You want him in our pick? He's yours.
He clearly won a raffle. They had a raffle for who's going to do the pick for the Lakers, and they clearly got his name, because what on earth makes you give us somebody else other than Kuzma?
Yeah, but no. How about the fact that, all right, just given the way that whole lottery was supposed to break, the fact that Atlanta, the Suns, and all those guys are outside the top 5.
Phoenix has to get a top 4 pick. I mean, Phoenix is right back. I mean, they're back another couple of years now.
And then miraculously enough, the Lakers, who had a 6% shot of getting into the top 4, is in the top 4. And then the Knicks.
What was I saying before? I was saying the Lakers would have a better chance. Before,
you're right.
And they're like, it's like a 1% chance. The fix is in. And
the fix is in, man.
They got a 4 pick.
They got that 4 pick, which is going to be ammunition to go give to the Pels with whatever they're going to have trading. And the Pelicans are going to have having 2 top 4 picks because they lost Anthony Davis, because who knows what the Benson family has on. Well, if Adam Silver and them has something on him. Maybe there's some P videos, P tapes, who knows? But
if I'm the Pels, and it's like, okay, you're kind of held over the barrel. Again, you have Griffin, who's the wizard of the lottery, because he won the 3 out of 4 with Cleveland, and he's got this. So he's won 4 out of the last 7 years or 8 years or something, which is ridiculous. But even if you're going to try and see, you're going to draft it, you're going to go into the season or whatever. But if I am him, and the Lakers are going to come hard. What I'm asking for the Lakers is I'm asking for that pick.
And future picks?
Well, I want Kuzma, I want Ingram, and then I want the option to swap picks in future drafts.
2020, 2021,
in the future. It's
future.
After.
Like almost kind of what.
Definitely after LeBron's gone.
You mean kind of like what the Nets did with the Celtics when they fleeced them for all those picks?
Well, yes. And then not even I don't even want to take their pick, just the option to switch. So if you're a top, and no lottery protection.
And no protection?
And the other thing is I don't want to take any contracts back. I don't want any contracts back, because the Lakers have the salary cap, so they can eat Davis's contract. But what it does is it keeps them from signing another max deal. So it's like, oh, you want this guy? We're going to give it to you, but you're going to choke on it. And you're not going to get everything you want.
The only thing with that is Brandon Ingram, what was that, blood clots or something he's having some issues with, similar to what Bosch had. So I think that hurts there.
So I might go Hart then instead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't see...
That could end up being like a blessing in disguise if they're able to keep Ingram.
And
Even though they're saying he might not be able to play, but who knows? But like, let's just say the whole clock issue gets it ends up not being a huge deal, and he can play a full career. Mm-hmm. They luck into Ingram being able to stay because of that issue, because no team's going to want to sign him, but the Lakers will definitely keep him. I
think Kuzma, Ball, and the 4th pick is going to be the best they have to offer as of right now. It's going to depend on, what are the Celtics going to offer. I don't see any situation where Kyrie comes back personally, which, I got to throw the Vegas perspective, the numbers perspective on that. And for Kyrie, as of May 9th, the Knicks are plus 200 favorite, the Nets plus 300 favorite, and the Celtics are actually 3rd at plus 325.
I'm surprised they're that high.
Lakers are 4th at plus 500, and I'd even heard that on some offshore books, when the number initially came out, that the Nets were a slight favorite over the Knicks, which kind of surprised me now.
Well, they're a playoff team, but the issue is, was it Monday Murray? Who's I can never remember the names of these guys.
You have a phone.
Well, no, because the one with Denver, the one with the Brooklyn, and that they all came out at the same time.
Oh, the Murrays?
Yes. I can never remember who's who. But it's D'Angelo Murray? I can't
Russell?
remember. Russell?
Oh, the point guard for
the snitch.
Nets?
The snitch.
Oh, D'Angelo
Russell.
Yeah, from Ohio State. No.
Yeah, well, he's a free agent. And so the problem is...
Is he a free agent?
Yes.
Wait.
Yes. The All-Star from the Nets?
Yeah.
He's a free agent.
He got traded from the Lakers.
He got traded from the Lakers. He's a free agent.
I thought he had one more year.
I think it's because he was traded teams, he's allowed to be a free agent. So they have to offer. The Nets have to make the max money decision on him, and that's where the Kyrie thing becomes kind of odd. Now, if they think they can get Kyrie, but then he could go somewhere else, Russell.
I did send the odds on the message.
I would too, because he's younger and
infinitely younger.
And he fits with the team better. But going back to New Orleans, it's like I would take Ingram anyway, even with the blood clots, because if he's healthy and he plays, then you got him. If not, he rolls off of a rookie contract. You don't have any money. You already have Holiday, which is why I don't want Ball. So you have him as the point guard. You have Julius Randle, who's your power forward. You have Williamson as a wing guy. You can draft with that 4th pick DeAndre Hunter from Virginia. So now you've got another wing defender guy, and you still have... is Okafor? Okafor is
I think Hunter's going to be great.
I'm not sold on DeAndre Hunter.
I'm not sold on that kid from Vanderbilt everyone's talking about now. Out of nowhere.
Garland?
Yeah.
Because he got hurt.
Out of nowhere, he's the number 4 pick.
Well, no, he was doing terrific numbers. He was a top 5 pick well before.
He's a high ceiling guy. Obviously there's a lot of risk with that, but if he hits, he can be a top 20 player. At least from the little bit we did see.
Jahlil Okafor's with New Orleans now, right?
Yeah.
So if you get Kuzma, you have Kuzma, Hunter, Zion Williams, and Randall as your forwards, wing guys. You already have Holiday. Okafor he can score points.
He can score points, and he can actually, you know what?
And then, but the thing is, on some
throwback.
But the good thing is, like on smaller lineups or your closeout game lineups, you can have Randall, Williamson, Hunter, Kuzma, and Holiday, and that's not a bad team. And with what the coach wants to do down in New Orleans, that fits better with that. Oh, I'm too close to the soundboard.
There we go. I can edit that out. Anyways, how about the Grizzlies lucking into that too? After they lose Gasol and Conley's gone.
Big winner, Utah. Conley going to Utah.
Yeah. That would be a good pick.
That'd be a great pickup for them as a point guard, because they were trying to make
that
deal to close
Rubio,
that
right?
out. Well, he was part of the thing going out because his money situation. But if you have him coming as the second team, that makes Utah better.
I like that move. I like that a lot, actually.
That would be a great move.
Conley going to Utah. Utah, they disappointed me this year, man. They had a strong playoff last year, but to get blown out by Houston like that, that's just... You got to do better than that.
But they're not there yet. They're just not.
Well, they had that great playoff run last year, but then the NBA gave them the benefit of a very tough start of the season schedule, and they just got beat down.
Yeah.
And they played really good basketball to get back to where they were. But
once again, also I don't feel too bad about the Nuggets losing the way they did. That team's gonna be fine. They're one of the youngest teams in the NBA, and they also have a potential. They have a dude on the bench who sat out who could have been a number 1 pick last year. They took a flyer on him because he had a bad back and he had surgery. and Porter.
That if he becomes the wing scorer that they need.
6'11" wing scorer that they need, he's on the bench. Like, hey, you know what? Let's just take a flyer on him because we have a loaded team already.
And
fuck it.
And the way that Jokic plays, it allows Porter to do anything he needs because Jokic can play up on the wing and deliver him the ball and the passes.
Are the Nuggets going to be that team, though, we look back in a couple years and we're just like, they never quite got there? I mean, you
mean like the Nuggets with Carmelo Anthony and Iguodala and Iverson and everybody else?
Or the Nuggets before that with, what was it?
Or Golden State of the entire 80s and 90s.
And it's just
the Baron Davis Nuggets, too. Or the Baron Davis Warriors,
because the West is only getting stronger.
I don't think so, man. I think
Really?
I think it's going to be the... I mean,
Well, I mean, we're looking at a broken Portland team. They don't have their starting all-star center.
This is true.
And they're in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
And they dispatched a couple of teams not too difficult. I mean, the Denver one was difficult. But if they had their starting center, it might have been like 5 or 6 games rather than the 7.
I think that just speaks more to how good Damian Lillard is. I mean, in the NBA more than the other sports, the team sports, the one player can carry you further, in my opinion. Obviously in football, you got Tom Brady and he can do great, but if the defense isn't showing up somewhat, it's not going to matter. In NBA, one superstar can really take over a game, and I mean, superstar is definitely how I would describe Lillard. I thought he was on the cusp before this series or before the playoffs, but doing what he's done with who he's had. I mean, Rodney Hood, Evan Turner. I made some bold predictions on Rodney Hood last year when he came over to the Cavs. I thought what he was doing this year in the playoffs, he would do last year in the playoffs, and I was wrong. I will never live that down from some friends.
But I don't think you're wrong on that. I think that it was that he wasn't allowed to have that role in Cleveland. It's like anybody.
I don't disagree.
LeBron didn't trust him.
Anybody who missed the shot in Cleveland got yanked immediately.
Does LeBron trust anybody anymore?
Other than I don't even know if he trusts his friend Rich Paul because Rich Paul can't even deliver Anthony Davis to him.
Well, we're gonna see very soon. Within a month, we're gonna see what's gonna be going on.
Go ahead and say it. LeBron will not win another title.
I don't agree with that. I think
LeBron
he
won't win one with the Lakers.
If Anthony Davis doesn't go there, what are their options next year? How are they going to compete in the West?
No, here's the deal. So if they manage not to snag anyone between now and the draft, and they don't get any free agents.
So you're a free agent, and this is what we're talking about. Josh and I are already. We haven't even discussed this, and I know that we agree on this. If you're a free agent, you want to go to Los Angeles. There's 2 teams that have max money.
Yeah, the Clippers.
And who's running the team? Who re-signed an extension there? Jerry West.
Yeah, well, Jerry West.
Jerry West
does not get enough credit for what he's done.
Jerry West, who built the grinded out Memphis team that made the playoffs like 8 consecutive years with no business getting in there.
And also, he's the one who kind of constructed the Lakers.
He constructed 90s. Golden State. He was an assistant or associate consultant with that, and then he's been with the Clippers, of which they tanked this year by trading Tobias Harris. And somehow they fleece Zubac out of the Lakers, and then they still make the playoffs and show it's like, hey, guys, look at all the pieces that we have. We just need the star.
And I think that's also...
And they're young.
Well, that's a big... Tobias Harris is going to be a big deal this year because he's a free agent.
He and Butler.
And who I keep Harris and let Butler go.
I'm not in love with Jimmy Butler. Here's the thing: his game is great, and when he wants to be the player, he wants to be the player. But is that the guy you want in there leading a young team?
No, Jimmy Butler's 30 years old.
Well, what about the Ben Simmons for LeBron James rumors that are kicking around?
Oh my God! Listen, if I were
if you're Butler and Harris, and you both want to re-sign with the Sixers, then
absolutely. Well, no, but listen, if they could somehow swap, okay.
Imagine
talk about the dumbest trade possible. Basically, for the Lakers. You're literally going to be putting Ben Simmons next to Lonzo Ball and letting 2 guys who can't shoot.
And Rajon Rondo, who's currently on the team. He'll be gone.
But I'm just saying, like, a bunch of dudes that can't shoot. That team has listen, I love LeBron. I will admit that. I think he belongs at the top in the GOAT debate. But the way that Lakers team was constructed for him to have that team in 4th place before getting injured, the way that team was constructed, I don't think he gets enough credit for that alone. In the West. And he didn't have any shooters on that team at all. And LeBron, at the current state he is in right now in the league, he needs shooters. And he didn't have any. And yet they were in 4th in the West, which was, I think, a huge testament for how good LeBron is.
And that was on Christmas Day?
Yeah, and then
they blow out Golden State.
And then you take a look at what the Cavs did where they had the third worst record in the league with essentially the same roster that he had taken to the finals last year.
Shumpert being the only person different.
And everyone's like, "Oh, but
superstar thing, though." I mean, if Damian Lillard is on the Cavs this year, do they make the playoffs in the East? I think so. I mean, I'm not going to say they go as far as LeBron, and I'm not going to say they win a series, but I think
that team's better than Orlando. That team's better than Orlando.
They're better, but I don't think they make the playoffs.
They're better than Orlando.
So you're telling me that Dame's worth almost 30 wins?
He only has to be about 20.
Now, what, the Cavs had, 19 wins?
15 wins.
Do you think he's worth 15 than 20 wins?
20. In the East.
I think the right superstar, yeah. I mean,
but it's in the East.
Well, take Dame off Portland. What are they doing? If you take Damian Lillard off Portland, have they won a game? I mean, where are they at right now?
Well, the interesting thing with Portland, so we've seen Damian Lillard's importance because they were a playoff team, lost 4 starters and their first 2 guys off the bench, and stayed in the playoffs because Lillard was the guy that stayed.
Yeah, this is true. But I mean, I don't think he's worth.
And all of those guys that they lost have been main contributors for playoff teams, except for one.
I don't think he's worth 15, 20 wins though, right off the bat. Like added to the Cavs, I don't know about that.
Well, I mean,
now in the East though too, you gotta look at the East. Like he was saying, the Pacers,
Orlando, Atlanta, Miami.
I mean, what minus LeBron, the Cavs lost 40 wins. Close to.
They were 35.
How many wins did they have last year?
Oh gosh,
low 54. It was low. I mean, they weren't the number 1 seed.
No, they weren't.
But they weren't. But that's
because Game 7 was in Boston last year.
Hold on, time out.
And Game 7 was in. Well, Game 7 would have been in Toronto, but it was a straight sweep in the semifinals.
Time out, Jerry. You just said 54 is low. 54 is not a low number for wins in the NBA. I mean,
it's only 12 games.
What Golden State's done to basketball?
Huh?
I said, see what Golden State's done to basketball with that 73-win season. Like 54, it's nothing.
Yeah, but also those 60
more.
It was 60 wins for
50,
the Bucks.
54 was the 3rd seed in the East. It wasn't a lot.
Oh, well, I mean, last year the Celtics and also Toronto did pretty well. So.
Yeah, well, Toronto was number 1. So, no, they were the 4th seed then because it was in the semifinals. It wasn't in the Eastern Conference Finals. So Cleveland was the 4th seed in the East.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of took a page out of the Spurs playbook of like, you know what, we're not playing for the regular season anymore. So who cares?
You say that, but over the course of Tim Duncan's career, when they've played, they've been a 1 or 2 seed the entirety of that run.
Oh yeah, but they were also averaging 50+ wins.
They had 60.
They were half-assing it.
67 wins the year the Golden State had 73. 67.
Yeah, no, there was the whole.
They would have been the number 1 seed in the history of the NBA playoffs, except for 4 seasons.
So we got some opening lines for the next game, Golden State and Portland. What do you guys? Last game was
who's tonight? Tonight, where is the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah, let's go talk about that first.
I did send this in your message. Wait, which one?
Let's go and talk about Toronto
Eastern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Toronto.
The Bucks.
I did send it to y'all in the mess, but what would y'all guess? It's in Milwaukee.
Wild guess. It's in Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's probably going to be what? I'm going to say 6-point favorite.
Well, before we get in, let me go through some thinking that might be done behind the scenes that I'm just absolutely half-ass guessing about.
Brogdon's back.
Well, no. It's that Toronto has been a higher seed and into the playoffs, and all of their guys and their best player has been a Finals MVP and history of that. So does the fact that it's on the road get lessened because of the experience and the amount that this team has, and that they're playing the so-called younger team who hasn't gone through all of the wars of the playoffs? How much of a difference that makes?
I don't think it adds anything.
I think it benefits them, and that I still imagine that Milwaukee would be favored, but I think it would be less. I think it would be like 2.5.
I'm going to say probably like.
You said 6.
I'm going to say
sidebar.
6.
Who do you think? I heard this this morning. I think it was on VSiN. Had the highest, most valuable plus minus when they played this year. I think they played 4 or 5 times. Who do you think? Which player of which team had the best?
Oh, in the Milwaukee Toronto series,
I think the Bucks did.
No. Which individual
player on the floor? I think Brogdon's presence on the floor
nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Yep, it was Brogdon. That surprised me.
And I think the Bucks, they played the Toronto 3 or 4 times during the regular season.
I believe it was 4, and I
think they went 3-1.
Don't believe
because they're the same
played.
He might have missed a couple of those games.
He may have,
because if it was the second game of a back-to-back, he didn't play.
But I'm going to say, Bucks.
Brogdon, you're talking about Chris Paul when people wonder, it's like, what is his career going to be looked back like? Brogdon's going to be one of those guys. He's going to end his career after about 14 years, and he might have 2 or 3 titles. He'll never be a regular starter, but it'll be like Robert Horry. It's like, but if he's on your team, you're going to win games.
Oh, yeah.
I
originally said 6. I originally said 6, but
With some fly suits.
my gut said 6 at first, but I'd say 4.5.
You should have listened to your gut. 6.5.
Ah, damn.
6.5.
Yeah.
Total.
I think the Bucks sweep Toronto.
I don't know.
Sweep. Come on, that's.
Okay, if I can see the
Kawhi Leonard by himself could have beaten the Golden State is what people say. They're going to win. They're going to
1 or 2 games.
I think they get 1 in Milwaukee and 1 in Toronto, and then Milwaukee gets 5 and 6.
Would it completely blow my mind if it was a sweep? No, but at the same time, they're going to get a couple. They'll get 1 or 2 in Toronto.
The Bucks healthy now. Brogdon back. That team has literally been decimating every team. They've been Thanos in the Eastern Conference, decimating every team that they've played so far.
The interesting thing will be how quickly Toronto goes to Kawhi defending Giannis.
I will say this, though. Don't be surprised, John. Don't overreact, John, if the Bucks win by 15 to 20 tonight. Toronto's historically starts series off slow. They're not great in game ones. So I think the Bucks win tonight. I think they cover. Hint, hint, free play alert. But like I said, don't overreact. Now, if it
kind
is
of like overreact how the Celtics, when the Celtics won game 1 against
Paul Pierce. He'll be Paul Pierce.
Well, that's what
Paul
Giannis
Pierce.
came out and said.
That series is over.
He was right, just with the wrong team.
Well, Giannis was he came out. I think it was more throwing shade on Boston than a compliment to the Raptors. But he says we can't lose game 1 like we did the Celtics and come back. So I thought that was a nice little shot. But Boston ran their mouth all year. That's a team, unless you're a Boston fan, which is dumb. But you can appreciate other teams if it's not your team. I'm not a Panthers fan. I can appreciate the Panthers. But Boston's that team. Unless you live in Boston, you're a Celtics fan. You hate the team, and just because of the attitudes, how they played all year.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think if Kyrie wasn't on that team, I think they're a very likable team.
Well, that's the interesting
Kyrie
thing.
Is on the team. Though.
Yes, he is, and this is where Josh is right on this. Is because up until this point, this is why people are taking so much glee in the Knicks and the Lakers suffering so spectacularly as they're trying to shortcut the process. The previous Boston team, they blew up their 3, traded all those guys, got all that, and they did everything right, building it up, signed the right free agent.
They got lucky. They
with
kind of lucked
Horford.
out.
Because other people not taking other stupid trades.
They took advantage of a very stupid Nets team.
But they still had to draft players.
True.
Jay-Z was running at that time, wasn't he? Or wasn't he?
I think that's when he got out. He's like, "This is what we're doing. I'm out." And
but they took advantage of a very stupid ownership group and team, and also took advantage of the fact
they didn't take advantage of them. They did what everybody does. When you see a chance to win, you have to go for it. The Washington Nationals are never, ever going to get a World Series because they thought they had a window of 10 to 15 years. So they shut down Strasburg, and the year they would have won the World Series in August. And it's like, oh, nope, we're not going to pitch. We'll be fine. We'll win a World Series. They got swept, and then the Giants kept knocking them out. And now they've lost Bryce Harper, and so Strasburg is their one chance. And if they had made it, they would have won it. And they probably would have gotten 2 or 3 or more since then.
What's happened to Strasburg?
Oh, he's fine. He's a good pitcher.
I want to segue into that. So let's go over the basketball, but I do want to get into that. I actually want to specifically get into that division in baseball because I don't know that there's a more interesting one. So what do you guys think on tonight's game on the 6.5 Milwaukee and Toronto?
I think Bucks cover.
Bucks definitely cover. I mean, Toronto's won one game one in the history in the last
and not just that, but I mean,
series.
Not just that, but also the fact that
series.
The Bucks are once again healthy. They got to sit. And reeling off a game 7 like that on a lucky shot.
Let me back up. Why am I being coy? I've said the Bucks are going to win the title.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not going to play coy here.
I said the Bucks are going to win the title as well, and I'm still sticking to that. I don't think they're going to. We'll see what happens.
And should Toronto beat them, it'll be the Eastern Conference champ is going to win the title.
Here's the thing: it comes down to the Bucks just have a much better supporting cast. Lowry. Dude, he disappears in the playoffs.
See, that's
Casper.
That's the thing. Bledsoe is the weakness in Milwaukee's lineup. And last year, Rozier ate him up. Irving couldn't.
Yeah.
And if Bledsoe was looking at the matchup with Lowry, it's like, oh, I'm not just even. I'm going to win this, which means the rest of my team is going to roll through these guys.
All right, so quick question, and this doesn't even really matter. So we all agree Bucks, right? 6.5.
Well, let me say the one thing though. It's like you said. It's like Kawhi can't stop. No, if Kawhi just decides to play the defense on Giannis, which he shouldn't start off with doing that, and that shouldn't be what they do. But if he just says, I'm going to defend him every time he's on the court, when he goes out, I rest, when he's on, I play, and I'm not going to worry about my offense and trust my teammates, they have a shot. Because he's the only guy big enough and strong enough and athletic, and with his hands, he can have the reach to keep him from doing. Giannis isn't known as a jump shooter. He can't take advantage by shooting over the top of him. No. What I said is true. The fact that he had a good series does not change his reputation.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but his reputation could very well change.
Well, no, he
with
can.
This coming up now.
Hey, Ben Davis, not a good jump shooter.
People are no. The thing is, that's what kind of changed that last series. They started daring.
Ben Simmons.
They started daring Giannis to take open 3-point shots, and he hit, I think, 40% of them. So
I mean, a set shot is different than trying to pull up and dribble.
Well, yeah, but they were just daring him to shoot, and he was hitting them.
Which is what you have
to
do.
Let him do it. He'll actually probably hit them. So,
well, I mean, that's what I mean.
Could you imagine if Giannis actually, let's just say next season, he adds a 3-point shot?
Oh no, he's adding that.
You think he's going to be added?
I think he can kind of shoot it now. It's just he hasn't needed to.
He doesn't need to. I'm saying, when they dared him to shoot last series, he was hitting his shots at a 40% clip.
But that's what I'm saying.
About 10% higher than he did in the regular season.
If Kawhi says to Nick Nurse is a Toronto coach, if he says to him, it's like, I'm going to defend him. This is our only chance.
They're going to send Marc Gasol out there to punch him in the dick. Is what's going to happen.
Gasol won't be able to chase him around.
It's going to be one of those like freak accident. Oh, Gasol's in the paint.
They can't lose him. Those are the two guys that they can't lose and have any hope of competing. But if Kawhi is out there, and because I mean Gasol can easily body up Lopez, because Lopez is, yes, he's tall and he can shoot, but he can't get the rebounds.
That's a wash.
But if Kawhi can knock Giannis from 27 points a game to 18 points a game, and I think he can do better than that, but he has to play him all the time, then I think Toronto can win. But it's taking his points away. He'll be exhausted in the fourth quarter, and Lowry has to play well, which is almost impossible to ask.
I don't see it happening. And they take Giannis away. I just don't think the supporting cast of Toronto can do that. So right now, we're apples and oranges talking about who's the better player between Kawhi and Giannis. And I don't know. Who would you guys say? I personally, right now, who do I want in this?
Who are you going to build? Are we talking who are you going to build your franchise around, or
that's
or who do you want right now?
Those are just the dumbest qualifiers ever.
I don't think so.
I know, because it's like, who you want to build your franchise around? It's like nobody cares if you're great for 10 years.
We're playing
if you don't
street
win a title.
ball.
Yes,
it's me versus John. We're building our team for this game in street ball or whatever, regular ball.
You hit the free throw. You pick first. Those two guys are on the court.
I'm picking Giannis.
I am too.
You're taking Giannis.
Giannis, he loves the game. I mean, you can tell. LeBron. I heard a report that when he was trying to get people together for Space Jam, he asked Giannis, and Giannis was like, "Nah, I'm worried about basketball." Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but that was the takeaway. Was he's like, "No, that's going to take me away from focusing on improving my game," and that's why I think he will get the jump shot going eventually. I think he will. I'm not saying he's going to be a 40% 3-point shooter, but I think he's going to, be a 2 for 3 game, 2 of 4 game. Hit the ones that matter enough to where they have to respect it.
What if Giannis became a 40, 50, 90 guy?
I think he could, because the sample size won't be that huge.
Yeah, but could you imagine if he just became a 40, 50, 90 guy, like 2 years from now?
Well, to follow up on that Giannis story, that was following up when he was asked by LeBron and some of the other guys. He's like, "Hey, why don't you work out with this summer?" It's like, "No, I don't want to be your friends. I want to beat you."
Yeah.
How can't you like him? I mean,
that's so Bill Russell and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I enjoy.
I may have to get a Bucks jersey just to represent.
I don't. You know what? I've always not been a fan of the Bucks because of what happened in the early 2000s against the Hornets back then. But I like this team. I really like that team. I love Giannis. I had a basketball crush on him the moment I saw him in the draft. And I saw a few YouTube clips of the kid before he went to the draft. I just remember seeing him. I'm like, oh, he's in this draft? Hornets should draft him.
He's an animal.
And see, the thing is, like, you go through and Giannis is on the court, but I mean, you take him off the court. Milwaukee can still put Bledsoe and Brogdon and Chris Middleton and Mitrovic and Lopez And they're not any one of those guys is you're worried about. But the way that they can all shoot threes, that they can distribute, and they can pass the ball, and they're all tall.
They're constructed.
That
team is constructed to help Giannis win. The way that
you say that, but a couple of those pieces were there before him.
This is true.
Brogdon was after, but Brogdon is like he was later in the draft, and it's like, well, we'll get a guy who can play defense. Now, the other things he can do have just been Brogdon working hard and being a fantastic player.
Then again, Lopez wasn't quite...
Lopez was a free agent.
Yeah, but he wasn't a spot-up three-point shooter from the corner.
He started that last year with the Lakers, and then it's like, oh, hey, look what I can do. And
What
Lakers said, oh, you would be great center for LeBron. We don't want you. and then Mitrovic was part of the tearing down.
McGee,
was part of the
shoot.
tearing down that New Orleans was starting to do.
You'd be the perfect center for LeBron. We're shipping you out, bringing in JaVale McGee, and then bringing in three point guards who can't shoot.
But this is why the Milwaukee Golden State matchup, even if Durant is back and even if his Cousins playing, benefits anybody Golden State plays because his plus minus is so terrible. With
defensively
But you have Giannis who's 7'1", probably 7 huge, whatever it is. This listing, Brogdon is 6'8", Middleton's 6'8", Mitrovic is 6'10", and Lopez is 7 feet. And then you have all of those guys can kind of pass and distribute, and they can shoot threes. And it's like they can't. There's nowhere to hide Curry. Curry has to chase Middleton, an all-star scoring two guard.
Yeah.
And or worse, Brogdon, who will just body him up and just abuse him by just dribbling into him and moving him around and doing all those things.
It's not gonna be like the Cavs where
Hood.
They stick him on Hood or
Shumpert
or JR or any of those guys. No offense, Steve. The Cavs but it's the truth.
But those players are 3-point shooters. They just hang outside and they don't do anything.
They were able to hide Curry defensively against the Cavs the last 3 years. They're not going to be able to do that against that Bucks team.
Which is why Houston was such a danger last year because Chris Paul and Harden, there was nowhere to hide Curry, but then Paul gets hurt.
Yeah.
I got a fun one for this. So I was looking up yesterday mythical matchups. So if Golden State...
I'm already in.
It's not like you think it is. If Golden State and Milwaukee meet in the finals, what do you believe the spread will be for the series? Golden State and Milwaukee meet in the finals for the series.
So like the total points?
Actually, no. This is just game one.
Oh, game one.
Okay, so for game one, if Golden State would play
be
Milwaukee.
in Milwaukee.
Yes,
that would be in Milwaukee.
Yes, it would be.
I think it would be Milwaukee -3.
I think they're favored by 8.
No. Against them, no.
Milwaukee would be dogs.
Yeah.
2.5-point dogs plus 120 the money line.
I wanted to say that, but I'm like, you know what? They won 60 games. Maybe they gave them basically at -3. That's basically saying at home. That's basically saying it's even. But the fact that they're dogs, that's insane.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. And although we're saying all this about the Bucks, if the Bucks and the Warriors do meet, I do stand by that, and we will be having our first bet of the pod on the Bucks versus the Warriors series. And I think we should let Josh and Jerry pick what the wager is. So,
see, I mean that's interesting because
the
Warriors.
You would take the Warriors?
You don't remember our last pod? Yeah. If they meet, I will. Unfortunately, I would. Yes.
No, he's sticking with his thing.
Although we just talked about how awesome Milwaukee is and how bad of a matchup is, I somehow think Golden State would pull it off.
But again, if it gets close and it's even, that's Golden State being close with Durant being able to close out fourth quarters is not where any team wants to be.
Well, absolutely not. But the thing is, you know what?
The Warriors won at Milwaukee by 10, and then the Bucks won in Oakland by 23. It's not in San Francisco yet.
That's big. The thing with it's hard to take what the Warriors do in the regular season. Yes, there's games they get up for, like the one against the Nuggets for the number 1 seed and such like that. But
they crushed them.
It's so hard to know which.
God.
Just because it's a big team or a big name doesn't mean they're getting up for the game. I mean, they won 3 titles in a row.
I mean, they got beat by Houston 3 out of 4 in the regular season.
They're going for the third title in a row. Yeah.
They want that 3-peat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, who's turning on in the playoffs has been Kevin Looney. No one's talking about him, and
there's a reason nobody talks about him.
First person to ever say that.
No. He's been playing very well.
And again, when you're not defended and you're an NBA player, you should play well.
This is true, but Draymond is back to being Draymond. I mean, well, it will be interesting to see what happens.
As Judd Heathcote said when talking about, it's like, why are you defending that guy at the 3-point line? He only shoots 17%. I said, do you ever think he shoots 17% from the 3-point line because he's defended?
But you see, you know how much happier Draymond seems to be when Durant's not on the court.
Everybody knows this.
No,
I'm just saying, like, a huge smile on his face.
I don't see how he comes back. I just don't.
Durant?
Yeah, and not this year. I mean, in general. I think everything I hear though, he should be healthy by game 3 or 4. But I mean, in general, I just don't see how they can. It's that relationship where they're staying together for the kids. You know, they want to win the championship. They want to get it this year. But the minute there's that opening, I just think it's going to take it. I can't see them, getting past their issues to make that happen.
See, I think, okay, so going to the mythical matchup and said, yeah, Golden State is definitely winning game 1 because they want to show these guys, look, this is what we can do. Milwaukee bounces back. Now, if Milwaukee wins game 3 at Golden State, and if they win it by a margin, that's the opening because that's where Draymond will be pissed at Kevin Durant. And then that's the opening Milwaukee has to dive into on game 4.
No, we're all talking about this. Watch it be Toronto and
Toronto and Portland, the worst matchup for the NBA.
Toronto, Portland. Could you imagine that matchup?
David Stern, who's not dead, would be rolling over his grave if there was a Toronto-Portland matchup and the Lakers and the Knicks picked 3 and 4 in the lottery, losing out to New Orleans and Memphis. He's like, what? I gave you this great golden egg.
God,
that's crazy.
The rest are not going to make. The rest are going to make sure we don't see that matchup.
I agree.
Well, and the thing is, this is the fallacy of the big market, small market system. Because Miami is not a big market. Miami is a terrible basketball sports town.
Absolutely, but it's also Miami, though.
But
NBA players love Miami.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with its market.
Well, no, it has nothing to do with the market. It has everything to do with
Golden State is not a big market. Said, yeah, it's near San Francisco. They don't care because it's in Oakland. Now, next year they'll care because it's in San Francisco. And they only cared the last couple of years because they won, and so they just decided to go into the East Bay. But San Francisco people don't care about Oakland. Oakland people don't care about San Francisco. And that division is only going to be worse with Golden State running to San Francisco after finally getting success now. And then Milwaukee and Utah are both interesting because since they're lead players, the stars of the franchise, although Mitchell, obviously in Utah, but Gobert, are European players. European players don't care about that because all of their big cities for most of the big countries aren't are equivalent size and amenities and everything that they have where they are. And there's like, if they like where they are, they're going to stay. They don't feel compelled to like, oh, I got to go Miami. It's like, I'm from Greece. Everywhere I look is better than this. I'm not going to come to Miami where it's all like I can't even get to the beach because everybody owns it.
Right.
Hoopa will stay in Milwaukee. Now, if you can keep your star, then you attract the other people. That's why Lopez went there. That's why Mitrovic was fine getting traded there. That's where Toronto was interested because Toronto is probably the second most metropolitan city in the entirety of the NBA. And actually, it's much more diverse than any of the other cities. More languages are spoken in Toronto than there are in New York.
Actually, on that team.
Well, even on the team.
Did you hear about? Did you see that whole thing about how?
Which is so stupid and lame and redundant and reductive and just limits the fact that players in the NBA previously spoke with multiple. You want to know how disgusting I feel about defending Kobe Bryant? Because it was talking about was it for Toronto? The Ibaka. Ibaka would speak French to Siakam, and he would speak
and he
Spanish.
Spanish.
To,
I thought that was actually kind of cool, but anyways.
But the thing is, it's like it doesn't really help because Embiid, of course, speaks French, so only the Spanish. But again, they're similar Romance languages. Kobe spoke Italian and Spanish to his. Again, the only reason his team worked better, they were less American players and more international players when they won again because that's the type of that he grew up with. But he would speak Spanish and Italian to his own teammates.
Oh yeah, no,
that's been done since the international players have come into basketball.
I understand that. I'm just saying, you know what? It's kind of funny how a lot of people like to say, "Ew."
But they're
just athletes.
How long has Ibaka been in the league?
They're a bunch of uneducated athletes. I'm like, most of these guys, a lot of these guys that come in, especially from overseas, can speak multiple languages.
Well, they're looking
like most of these African players, especially the ones that come from Africa, all can speak almost 5+ languages.
No, anybody not
American?
From an English-speaking country speaks multiple languages.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those things. Though.
And depending on some of the English-speaking language countries, it's default multiple. Because I mean, Belize, everybody there is bilingual. I mean,
Well, I'm just saying, like that's one of those little cool factoids, though. Like, these guys are actually out here speaking multiple languages because they can.
But the silliest thing is they're showing that picture and they're explaining all of this, and Joel Embiid is right in the middle, and it's like he totally speaks French. When he and
they mentioned that Embiid speaks French too.
Yeah, but that's why he said they speak Spanish to Gasol, so they wouldn't know where the double team was coming from.
That's actually kind of cool, though.
But I mean,
actually helps as a tactic.
It's Sasha Vujacic.
Yeah.
He would speak his native language and also Italian, and Kobe would speak Italian to him to tell him where to cut on an inbounds play.
Okay, so we all agree Bucks at 6.5,
and of course Pau Gasol, so he speaks Spanish.
So what's the line for the What's the line for the Warriors and the next game?
-8 Warriors in Portland -8. So up a point.
I take the Warriors in that again.
Is Durant playing?
Nope.
I take the Warriors.
I'm actually going to take Portland on that one.
What?
I think they could even win outright. No, I think they
you
could
think
win
money line?
No. I mean, I'm going to take the points for security, but I think they could win the game.
You love Dame Lillard a little too much, I think. I think the Warriors are out to embarrass that team.
He was first team All NBA.
You know,
that's cool. That's cool. But I think the Warriors are out to embarrass that team. They love embarrassing teams.
When LeBron left, I said that while we're rebuilding, of course, I'm a Cavs fan. I'm going to stay by my team. But you need someone to root for when your team, wins less than 20 games, and that was the team I wanted to pick.
You guys are drafting outside the top 5 too, aren't you?
No, we're
or are you 5?
5th. We are 5.
Yeah, but you guys
fell out of projections was Hunter. I think
you guys are gonna get, that's a great pickup for you guys. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's
I don't see him.
No,
building
I
around.
I agree with Josh. It's not a great pick for Cleveland because he's the third or fourth part. I mean, he's going to be a fantastic NBA player, but he's not the guy that sets everything up and then everybody around them immediately comes. He'll make his teammates better. I'm semantics really cutting hairs on this one. Is he's going to be an all-star level player. He's going to be a difference maker on a franchise, but he's not the guy who's going to score 25 plus points and everybody's paying attention to him to automatically make everybody else better.
He's a great addition if you already have some pieces together.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you're building a young core with Sexton and him,
who a lot of people in Cleveland are kind of still. I mean, he had a strong finish, but
he had a great finish. No, from what I've been reading, the Cleveland management are very high on him.
Well, they have to be. That was their pick.
It was their pick, but they're still very high on him. And they could easily, quote unquote, trade him for a piece or yada yada yada. And they're like, no, we don't want to keep him. So.
Well, no, because there's only like two really good point guards, and one of them's off the board immediately, and the other one's coming back from a knee injury. So you're not going to do that.
Oh, this is not a very good point guard,
which is shocking because that's typically the player that comes out.
Because I mean, Kobe White somehow played himself into possibly being a top 5 pick, and I think that's ridiculous. So. And that's not me being a Duke fan. That's just ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I think they had him at Chicago at like 6 or 7.
I think that'd be a great. That would be good for Chicago.
Yes,
him going at the 6-7 range to a team like Chicago, the way they're currently constructed, needing a point guard better than Dunn, who's not that good anyways. I mean, like that could work. But White's not a top 5 pick. I've seen a lot of mock drafts sliding him into that 5 range, and I'm like, that's insane.
So which different players have you seen slotted into the Hornets mock at number 12?
I've seen so far with PJ Washington.
I don't care for that one.
I don't like that pick at all. Even though some of these Kentucky boys who've been highly touted coming out of college, who've been overshadowed by the Duke kids, have turned into really good players. Like they don't have any of that pressure of being like a top 5 pick. Even though in any other draft, if Duke weren't recruiting these guys, they'd be probably in that same range. But these Calipari guys who've been coming in, who have been top recruits, I'm talking like top 10, top 20 recruits coming out in their freshman year, they don't have any of that. They're not getting that what's the word? Pressure, I think, almost to kind of live up to the expectations.
They're falling further in the draft. They're not going top 5.
They're not going top 5, but then they go top 10, top 15 in the lottery still, but outside of that top, say, 7 range, and these kids are living up to their expectations.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a fantastic season with the Clippers.
Yeah. I mean, these guys have been playing very well, and I think, honestly, I kind of feel like Duke has been doing these kids a favor as far as like their pro careers go. It's kind of fun. No one really actually talks about that. I really think these top recruits out of Duke who are going in the top 5 and made it easier for these Kentucky kids to transition into the league.
The problem is these kids aren't ready yet. They need to be. They're not. Their game is not transitioning. I mean, I have to get a percentage, but they're not. They need these young 18, 19-year-old, these freshmen, these one and dones. I mean, well, look at the last couple. I mean, who's blown up? I mean, the last couple years that was a one and done.
Donovan Mitchell was a sophomore.
He was a sophomore.
Brogdon was a junior, if not a senior. I think he was a junior. Ben Simmons was a one and done, but he had the NBA red shirt. He had the NBA red shirt.
He had NBA, just like Blake Griffin.
Who was the other cat they got in Philly who was a complete bust?
Oh, Michael Carter-Williams.
No, Markel Fultz.
The other bust.
He's talking about Markel Fultz, who got traded.
He's not yet a bust.
They're not developing. I think that's what's coming to. So,
well, the interesting thing with Markel Fultz, there's the shoulder thing, but apparently his team, his guys, as I give the air quotes on all of this, they had him recuperating by using a smaller basketball to practice his shot, which just completely changed his mechanics. And it's like, why would you even think to do that?
I kind of feel bad for that kid.
Which one?
Markel Fultz.
And now he's with Orlando.
Have you seen how ugly that shot was, though? I mean, that's
sure.
mental at that point. I mean, there's something.
There's an entire fundamental change because that's not how he shot his 1 year at Oregon when he averaged 22, 23 points a game or something.
No, he played very well actually.
I mean, he would, but it's still though. It's like, why would you? If you're Philadelphia, why are you drafting him when you already have a point guard? I mean, Simmons hadn't played yet, but still, it's like your thought was he was going to be your bulk ball handler.
I think it gets to the point too when you're that bad, you just need assets. And in Philly's defense, I think
they were the third pick that year. They would have still have Tatum was the third pick in that draft. The Lakers were dumb enough to take Lonzo Ball, so there were still like some assets in there, and that they still traded up. They had to make the promise with Boston to say that they weren't going to go for Tatum.
I hate Lonzo, but I'm not, and I hate the Lakers, and obviously I hate Lonzo because of his dad. But I'm not ready to give up on him yet. I just think it was a bad all-around situation last year.
No, actually, I think Ball's still going to end up being an all-star. I mean, yeah, the only reason people
can you be an all-star in this league and not score points?
Currently, as it stands, no.
And I mean, that's he can rebound, he can play defense, he's a very good passer. He can score some, but he's so afraid of his shot, he won't even drive to the basket to get fouled.
Well, I mean, that can very well change. The kid's still only, 20?
The easiest way to get points in the NBA is from the free throw line. He's so afraid of his shot, he won't even drive. He's 6'8", being defended by solid point guards.
I get what you're saying, but listen, to say he's not going to everyone already was ready to quit on D'Angelo Russell. The kid's only 23.
The difference,
I think we seem to forget how young these kids are when they come to the NBA.
But there's different. But there's different things.
Josh was literally just talking about that. These kids are coming in so young. They're not complete players as they come in. They can change. They can evolve. They can work on their shot. When you're 19, you are not unless you're. I mean, honestly, unless you're maybe LeBron, and he had an awful shot coming into the league as well. I mean, like, these guys are incomplete players.
It's not about the strength of your shot. It's about the willingness to expose your weakness to make it better. Because even if he doesn't make the free throws, he's putting fouls on the other team. If you can put 3 fouls on a point guard in the first half, a starting point guard, you've won, even if you're 0 for 6 from the free throw line.
I get Smash Kendall Jenner, work on a jump shot. I mean, come on.
Are we talking about Simmons, or are we talking about Ball?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Simmons. I thought you were talking about Simmons.
Oh, no, we're talking
Everyone's
about
like,
Ball.
he's got no jump shot. I'm like, well, if I was smashing Kendall Jenner, I wouldn't have a jump shot either.
Well, the weirdest thing is you see Simmons, you see these highlights of, like, they'll show him on the practice court, and he's like raining down all these shots. But I haven't seen those from Ball. But the thing is, if you're the point guard, I mean, that's the thing that separates. Yes, he can get better over time. Yes, there's maturity levels that'll change when you go from 19 to 22. Yes, all the things. But your ego as a player to attack the rim doesn't all of a sudden arrive when you get older. That's the thing. That's the thing that when you play basketball, in high school, he was like, "Oh, I'm bigger than this kid. I'm going to the hoop."
They didn't need to.
He did. Well, that's the thing is, like, then he would get the layup or the dunk and the foul, and it's okay they missed the free throw because he got the 2 points. But now he's not guaranteed the 2, so then he doesn't want to see that. But that's an inability. That's a coaching or a lack of connect. That's something LeBron should have been telling him the entire time. It's like, you were bigger than the guy defending you. Lillard is 6'2", you're 6'8", Lonzo Ball. You attack him all the time. You make him foul you. And if not, the defense collapse. You use your ability of the passer, but he won't even drive to start to ignite the offense because he's so afraid of being put on the free throw line and shooting that 45, 46%, which, if you're going to be a point guard that starts and have the ball in your hands, you're going to get fouled at the end if you're the weakness. And if you're not a better shooter now, you need to be able to drive and collapse the defense and force the other things. or cut to the basket. So when you give the ball away, that the defender's not just cherry picking, running the other way because he knows you're not going to crash the boards, and all of a sudden they're getting free layups at the other end.
I'm just saying there's a lot of room for him to improve.
Oh, there's a huge amount of improvement, but that comes from attitude and want to. We spent all this time about Giannis saying it's like, I'm not going to be in your movie. I'm not going to practice with you because I want to beat you. Yet Lonzo Ball's the things that we've seen anecdotally don't show those types of initiative.
Yeah,
I mean, what's Antetokounmpo? It's Antetokounmpo was not a great free throw shooter when he got, but he got better. But it didn't stop because he kept driving to the basket because he knew that was his asset. He's 7'1". He's bigger than anybody that's trying to defend him. His strides are ridiculous because it's like 2 steps from the 3-point line. He'll get once he gets to the free throw line, he'll pick up his dribble and do a spin move, and he's dunking the ball. I mean, he led the NBA in dunks, and most of those were from under the basket and right on somebody's head because it's like, I want to beat you. And one of the things that's the strength of Lonzo Ball is that on the court he doesn't get too excited or too morose or too one way or the other. He's even keeled, but that's one of the things that's going to keep him from maximizing everything that he has is that he's not willing to push. It doesn't appear that he's willing to push that part of himself to get better, to punish it. Even if I cannot do something where I want to, if part of what that does puts the other team at a disadvantage, you need to press that because then that becomes an advantage for you. And they'll lay and then if they lay off of you, that makes it easier for passing lanes because you're still 6'8" and you're still taller than most of the guys trying to defend you. But if you're not going to shoot and you're just standing out there, you're hurting your team because they're just going to sag in and particularly with a team without 3-point shooters or good shooters from outside, that cuts down on the cutting lanes for LeBron. It cuts down for cutting lanes for Ingram and Hart and Kuzma, and then it makes it even harder for them to cut or to pass or anything else.
No, I definitely agree, and I do want to. I think that's a good good point. I do want to talk a little hockey with the unfortunate loss last night we had in Carolina, but just a little recap on the basketball side. So you guys are both going Golden State -8. Correct.
Yep. Golden State -8, and then Bucks 6.5.
Everyone's taking Bucks 6.5. Okay, and I'll take Portland +8 on that. And then we'll just
you taking Portland +8 on that.
I'll take Portland
and you said you want to take a money line.
Well, he said he also thinks they might win.
No. But
so
you gotta put that in.
For the bettors out there, if I were to bet that game, I would put 75% of what I'm going to bet on the spread, and I'd sprinkle the last 25% on the money line. So I would split that up. So I wouldn't. And one thing I do want to talk about. So. Within a bet, and I want to get into this a little bit more next week. Money management on betting and sports betting, and how to control that, so you're just not throwing a bunch of money on games. But on a game where I think an underdog will win, it's the scared way you can say it. It's the pussy way out. So instead of taking all that plus money, it's kind of covering your assets. So okay,
nothing wrong with hedging.
In essence, yes, but you still can get the win as well. So. That's how I would bet that game personally. I'd put 75% of whatever you're comfortable betting, whatever. Everyone's different. So if you're a $10 better, I'd put $7.50 on the spread. I'd put the other $2.50 on the money line. Just get a little bit different. But hockey, man, a little disappointing. The Hurricanes.
They lost that momentum, man. They just they lost it. It just that break.
It's been a slow, painful death, though. I mean,
well, I don't know. It's
they're
definitely
staying-
been painful. I don't know how
game-
slow
well,
it's been.
that
they're
game
staying
one.
in it, and then.
Game 1, we lost by what?
But it was close until it wasn't, and this sounds dumb, but it was a close game. Then once that goal went by, the second goal went by, just swooped the air right out of my
Yeah,
field.
that's. I mean, that's one of the things that we were talking about before, and we spoke about that concerning the Western Conference. Is that in playoff hockey, Stanley Cup playoffs are the most shocking and surprising and best of all playoffs in all the sports. Is that when a team gets hot and they can stay on that roll, you can't get in front of it, and if you do, you're just gonna get run right over. And Carolina was on that roll until Boston they got to play and continue to play, and they got to stay in their routine and didn't have to pause. And
I think we're on a collision course for the Sharks and the Bruins.
I said the Sharks were going to win it all. So
I love the Sharks tonight, by the way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think the Sharks. And the Blues are a good team. I think they get a good story.
But the Blues, the Blues and the Canes, they were hot. They got hot at the second half of the season, and sometimes it just comes to an end.
What a series that would be, Sharks and Bruins. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but do we want another series? I mean, obviously the alternative would be Bruins Blues, but that just doesn't even sound
Nobody wants
sexy
that.
saying that. Yeah, it's just the Bruins and the Blue. That to me has sweep written all over it. I think Sharks and Bruins has 7 games.
That would actually be a good series.
Oh yeah.
So if the Bruins win the Stanley Cup,
Will
there be a bigger villain in Boston sports if Kyrie Irving goes to the Knicks, costing the Boston the opportunity for a Grand Slam sweep of all 4 sports? With the Red Sox and the Patriots and the Bruins.
Yeah, but
Celtics made the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
The world will not let that happen.
And LeBron
Nobody
James
wants Boston
leaves.
fans to be any louder than they
I mean, the
already
Celtics are already out, so they can't get the 4, but they can hold the 3 titles.
Yeah, I got Tom.
And if
Fall
Kyrie
back on everything
goes
else.
to the Knicks, and they'll blame him for this past wasted season every opportunity they get. Rozier said, if I don't get to play more, I want to play somewhere else. He's basically saying it's me or him. And everybody else on the team knows it should be Rozier and not Kyrie.
Yeah.
But Danny Ainge's carefully constructed process to this point is about to blow up in his face because he chose Kyrie. I mean, yes, not signing Isaiah Thomas to the max deal was a brilliant decision, and he got a lot more value out of it than he could have. But by getting this guy and hitching his wagon to this horse, it might blow up the entire team in front of him.
No, it looks like a team that could be potentially a franchise, 10-year, 15-year thing. All in one season could possibly lose it all.
I mean, they still have 3 picks this year, and with the depth of the draft, with some of the mocks, it's like they'll be able to get a flyer on a guy that was injured. They're going to get like a couple of other guys that'll be fantastic people that'll be able to learn all the right ways, as I air quote that, to play basketball coming off the bench and learning on a successful team. It's like Clark, I saw, might possibly go to Boston in one of their first-round picks from Gonzaga, which is a terrific pickup because it'll give them an athletic, powerful forward guy that they don't quite have. They have the wing guys that are the shooters and not the ones who can attack the basket that aggressively. And he can play defense. He had more block shots this past season than missed shots. He literally erased more points. I mean, he effectively did not miss a shot the entire season. He was 100% shooting because for every shot he missed, he erased 2 points by another team on the opposite end, which is ridiculous.
Crazy stat.
No, I agree.
I like the Sharks tonight.
Yeah, I do think the series is go longer than it needs to because I do think the Blues are a good team. Blues haven't been that great at home. Sharks, last series with the Avs, they didn't lose back-to-back games. I think Sharks are hotter, to be honest, and I think they're the more complete team. And like I said, I know I'm not going to be a conspiracy theory person, but like I said, we all just agreed Bruins and Sharks.
Nobody wants that.
Actually,
Bruins and Sharks. No, Bruins and Sharks.
Oh, Bruins and Sharks.
Yeah, Bruins and
Everybody
Sharks.
wants
no,
that.
Bruins and Sharks would be
Everybody wants it. Nobody wants Bruins and
an
Blues.
infinitely more entertaining series. The only other series that'd be more entertaining than that would be Blues Canes, and we're not going to get that. So I'm just saying, unless some miracle. I mean, granted, in hockey, coming down,
A 3-0 lead is not insurmountable in hockey.
It's not. It actually happens way more often than people like to actually acknowledge. So
it happens.
It happens. Yeah, exactly. It's not like the NBA where if you're down 3-1, unless you are the Warriors in Cleveland or you're the Warriors in Oklahoma City, it just doesn't happen. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I'm all but certain it's going to be the Sharks and the Bruins.
I'd be really surprised. I mean, you'd like
With
to
the
think,
Sharks winning it all.
You'd like to think that the Hurricanes come back and at least win one in front of the home crowd, but I just don't see it. I don't see it.
They had it last night. They needed that win, but just didn't happen.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. In
being
that
a North Carolina professional sports team fan has been kind of rough the last couple of days. Getting that 12 pick, which you know what, I expected it because you know what, we played for it. We wanted that 8 seed, only to get swept by the Bucks. And the Mitch Kupchak and Jordan and the way the front office for the Hornets like to run their team, they seem to just want to chase that playoff spot as opposed to let's just completely rebuild and tank. Which also goes to show, I think genuinely Kemba's gone. I think Kemba's done. He's not going to be back with the Hornets next year, especially if he wants to win.
It was funny that there were several people saying that with the way that the new lottery shook down and the 3 worst records were picking was it 3-5-6 in the is that it's like, oh, that's going to like deter tanking. It's like, no, that's going to most assuredly continue to people to tank because they'll want to be in those 3 worst teams at the 14th percent chance. It doesn't matter that there's an 86% chance they can't win. There's a greater chance that they can win.
Right.
And even then, Philadelphia has proven and Cleveland has proven that you have to get those picks in order to have the players to compete. Cleveland used one with Kyrie, but they used Waiters and Wiggins to get other pieces to get their title. Mm-hmm. And then the Sixers may have made a mistake with Fultz, but they were still able to parlay what happened with that to get them all the players they have now.
You know, and they added Butler, of course, and they added Tobias Harris. But even without Butler and Tobias Harris, I still think they're in the playoffs.
Definitely in the playoffs.
You know, do they still lose to the Raptors? I mean,
Yeah.
I just think that those two on the same team, I just think they're not. I don't want to say they're not meant to be together, like it's a relationship, but I just don't see them coexisting because neither one of them wants to be the leader. You know, they want the glory when they're doing well. They want the fame when everything's going great. But, you know, when have we heard Embiid or Simmons after the game, hey, my fault. I need to do better. We'll get them better as a team. You know, and they don't without that leadership. And I guess that's the one argument I will take for Jimmy Butler. You know, I personally I think as a player, you know, this is not debatable. I mean, he's a great player. But as a leader, especially with a young team like that, I mean, just some of the antics he did in Minnesota and how he showed up his young teammates and things like that. And I think that stuff matters, you know. I mean, especially when I feel one player, like I said earlier, in the NBA can help you more than any other sports. That one superstar, I just don't think the chemistry in Philly is there. I think they're trying to make it a super team, and you know, to keep Tobias Harris, they're gonna have to overpay, and I just don't.
They have to overpay for both of them.
Yeah,
he and Butler.
And then what's going to happen once Embiid and Simmons are up for new contracts?
Well, Embiid already has his max deal, and that's where
Okay, I didn't know that.
He signed that at the beginning of last year. He's in his second because he's had 2 years in the red shirt process.
Right.
So he was already up, and so I think next year's when that one kicks in. But they can go over to re-sign Harris and Butler, and then if they choose to spend the money on Simmons, they can. But then that just leaves max exceptions and minimums, or veterans exceptions and minimums for everybody else. The thing that's where you're talking about like Embiid and Simmons, neither one will take responsibility because both of them know the elephant in the room and that Simmons doesn't shoot from outside. And Embiid doesn't want to pile.
He can't stay healthy, so
and with that means Simmons has to be able to shoot from outside because if he can, then it opens up the middle for slashing by Harris and Butler and McConnell, and it also keeps people from just chasing JJ Redick all around.
Right.
But by not doing that, it allows the other people to get beaten up more on the offensive end. Now, I mean, there was it the game against who were they in the last round? They were. It wasn't the Celtics. The Celtics Toronto. There was a game against Toronto where he had like 36 points. He just ran up and down the court, just owned them completely. And Simmons is capable of doing that. But if he had an outside shot to where they had to body up on him on outside, and then he's 6'10", and his first step, and all of a sudden he's got a defender behind him, and the defense is just entirely imploding down into him and his passing ability, he could be the best player in basketball. But with him not shooting that and him not being defended that way, it's just, he's a tall guy who can't shoot, and that doesn't help. It's just like
making it easier for the defense. I mean,
it minimizes. It hurts Embiid's effectiveness because they can just collapse on Embiid when he tries to post up or do anything in the paint, of which he's still. I mean, he's better than anybody else in the NBA at doing that right now, and he would be even. I mean, 26 points, 27 points a game by Embiid. He would be over 30 if Simmons could shoot from outside or choose to even shoot from outside. Even if he's not making the shots, just the fact that he would be shooting the shots.
And you took the words right out of my mouth. That's why having your two all-stars, your two superstars, the nucleus of the team, and neither one of them is an efficient three-point shooter, or like you said, even the threat of the three-point shooter, because you need – okay, so what happens? Why was LeBron so effective when he had shooters? Guess what? LeBron was driving the hole. Okay, they're collapsing on him. Guess what? Boom, Ray Allen. You know, whoever. He's passing it out to him. There's not that threat. I mean, and it's taking away a dimension of your game. You can't have that much money tied up into two players, in my opinion, in this the 2019 NBA. And, I actually do have to wrap this up here in a second. And I got an argument with some friends yesterday because I said if Cleveland gets the number 1 pick, and I'm going to stand by this for everyone here on the podcast, if Cleveland would have got the number 1 pick, which we didn't, I would have preferred John Morant over Zion Williamson. But here's why. Zion Williams is all-star. He's Hollywood. He's all that. I get that. Once in a generation. And it could be something I regret ending up saying. The league nowadays, you got to have shooters. There's not one. Now, yes, Kawhi and the Greek Freak are big guys, literally, but there's not one big center left in the finals. The health, look at Greg Oden. Look at these big guys who have came out that have 285 on the limbs, the ligaments, and it's I know the shoe thing's just something silly, but when you're that big, going that quick with that much force, it's an injury waiting to happen. I mean, it's a torn ACL waiting to happen. I know it's not a good way to look at things, but for specifically the Cleveland Cavaliers, as a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, albeit, I would have preferred John Morant over Zion if it came. Now, I would have loved either. So, having the second pick would have been good. We get whichever. And that was the reasoning for it. Not, there's not one knock against Zion or anything he's going to do or capable of doing. It's just that with how I think the NBA is this year and how it's building. Now, once again, either one would have been great, and we're picking 5th, so we don't have that either. But let's go ahead. How did the picks go last week, John? What did everyone's record go?
Hold on, time out. Did you just go into a rant about how you'd rather take Ja over Zion?
I did.
I completely missed it, didn't I?
See what happens when you walk away from the mic?
I had to go for a second. But I'm
it's
just
like
saying.
When parents go out of town.
Yeah,
it's wild.
You got the whole thing trashed down.
I walk away for 1 second. I
took the vodka.
So I missed the one hot take of you would take. Wait, hold on. Just quick spark note it. Why would you do that again?
For the Cavaliers, I'm not saying anyone with
this
the
is
number
terribly
overall pick.
redundant for the people listening to this
no.
because you weren't there. Because of his size, he's more injury prone, and so you prefer Morant because of the longevity of his health is
and
much
the way
greater.
the NBA is going right now, and the lack of big men in the finals outside.
He's not
of
a big
course,
man.
But he's your centers.
Morant is not. No,
when I say big man,
Williamson
I mean
is a
center.
big dude. He's like 280, 6'8". That's
but
a
he's
lot of person doing that much on your knees and feet.
Yeah, man. Okay.
I'm going to say Zion's not big. Zion is gigantic.
Huge.
There was only one person
huge.
in the NBA heavier than him last year, and that was Boban Marjanovic, who's going to be in John Wick 3 opening this weekend. And he's one of the biggest guys that you'll ever see in your life.
Listen,
He already has tickets.
Fantastic plug, everybody. That's how you do that.
That was a great plug. By the way, no. If you don't listen, I guarantee when Zion comes into the league, when first tip off of the season next year, Zion's going to be about 20 pounds lighter.
But
265 is not small.
No, it's not. But he's going to be. Listen, he's a very bulky 285.
And again, does anybody literally believe that he was only 285?
Oh hell no, dude! He weighed like
300 pounds.
That's like boxing. You weigh in, and then the next day you're 20 pounds lighter. I do want to leave you guys with one thing. I texted you guys early in the week, and I said I made a bet with a friend that was very unique.
Oh yeah, what was that bet?
It was very different. I wanted to start off with a little cliffhanger on that earlier today. So, as you guys know, obviously summertime, a lot of concerts. One concert stood out to me that I just couldn't grasp why it was happening. Lil Wayne and Blink-182. So
Yeah, I don't get that.
I like to do a little bit of ticket reselling when I can.
Hey, is that you do? You do ticket resells
For certain concerts, if it's it's something I feel like I can make money off of, then I can buy them.
I have some friends I should probably introduce you to.
Absolutely. So, there's certain concerts or certain shows. If I have a feeling they might sell out, I'll grab a couple extra tickets just to get my ticket paid for. And one of my friends texted me, he goes, "Oh man, you need to load up on Lil Wayne and Blink-182 tickets. It's definitely going to sell out." No chance, in my opinion. 19,000 people at PNC. So that was the bet. He bet that it sold out.
Whoa, he thinks Blink-182 and Lil Wayne's going to sell out.
Mm-hmm. Now, if it hits Groupon, the bet is void.
That shows that's selling out.
I agree 100%.
That shows that's selling out at all.
I have zero. If someone called me and said they had free tickets,
19,000 seats?
PNC.
Yeah, but I mean, it wouldn't necessarily unless it's the center. Okay, hold on. Actually, generally speaking, yeah, close to that. I mean, Travis Scott sold out. But Travis Scott's more relevant today than either one of those guys.
Travis Scott is really popular with the teens who have ridiculous money that their parents are spending on them.
Another thing I don't
funny
think he
segue.
researched...
Hold on, quick. Hold on. A real funny segue to that, actually. So I did go to Travis Scott this past year. He was actually here like last month, and I'm gonna just tell a really quick story. So it's a Sunday, and if for those of you at home who know me, Sunday is one of my favorite days to just go take on random tasks, as in Sunday funny drinking. And so I'm at a bar. It's like 7 o'clock, and I'm like, you know what? I want to go to Travis Scott. Fuck it. So I buy a ticket, and I go. I get on StubHub or some shit. I paid like $115. The ticket was originally listed at $200, whatever. I'm like, wait till. By the way, kids, life hack: if you want to buy tickets to a sporting event or concert for way cheaper than what you're expecting, wait till 20 to 15 minutes before close. If it's a game, tip off. 15 minutes before tip-off for any sporting event, StubHub takes those tickets off, by the way. So don't just wait literally till 15 minutes before. But for concerts, not quite the same. Anyways, by the way, StubHub, sorry about that. Don't give me free stuff. So I bought a ticket. I go to the concert. So I'm there by myself. I'm like, fuck it. Whatever. So I sit down. Nothing but white teenagers. And all these kids are like, oh, so you're the one who bought Sally's ticket. I'm like, oh, yeah, that was definitely me.
I'm Sally.
I'm Sally. So they're like, whoa, cool. Like, I'm like, so what? This entire row is just a bunch of kids. Like, what's up with you all? Like, oh, this is my friend's birthday, and the parents bought the entire row for this kid's birthday. And Sally got to sell her ticket on StubHub. But what
Is her name really Sally, or are you just?
I'm not throwing out a real name.
I wish her name was.
Sally is way too old for any.
I wish it should have been Sally.
There's no 14, 15-year-old named Sally right now. Anyway, so
without their parents trying too hard to name.
So
the
me
kids.
being me, I struck up a conversation with these kids. Like, oh, so what high school did you guys go to? Oh, we all go to Providence Senior High School, which is the exact same high school I went to. So I go, oh wow, cool. I went to Providence. I'm like. So let me guess, you kids live in you live in this really affluent country club, don't you? He goes, how'd you guess? I'm like, your parents bought this entire row of tickets.
I know where the school is.
I know where the school is. I went to that school, and I kind of know where you probably live. Anyway, so they're like, oh, yeah. So what year did you graduate? I'm like, oh, yeah, I graduated 2003. And the kid just goes, holy shit, I was born in 2003. I'm like... At no moment in my entire life have I ever felt older than being at a Travis Scott show surrounded by kids that are all born the year I graduated high school.
I worked at a job for 20 years, 5 months, and 16 days. And the only thing to be at that job, you needed to be there at least, you needed to be 18 years old and with at least a GED. I never met them, but I know there was somebody working there that was born after I started working that job.
Okay, guys, so we're going to go and wrap this up today. We're going to go and give we're going to just do a quick rundown of our picks for tonight and actually later on this week. So, once again, for tonight, we have, what is it, Toronto Bucks. Yep. And Bucks are 6.5-point favorites. Mm-hmm. And we all agree Bucks, right?
Yeah,
because Toronto is terrible in game ones.
Well, not just that, but I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of don't like that pick now. Now that we all agreed on it, I don't like the pick. But,
I'm staying.
Yeah, I'm staying for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't pick the Raptors.
I don't like it enough to break up with her, but I just don't like it.
All right, so we're all taking Bucks 6.5. So, also, another game we have tonight, the Sharks and Blues. We're all agreeing Sharks, right? We're all taking Sharks.
What is this, game one? Game two? What is this over there?
This is going to be
game three?
1-1. Yep.
1-1? Yeah, Sharks.
We're all taking Sharks.
Actually, no. I'm going Blues because the Sharks will definitely end the series, but they always make it exciting for their fans for no good reason. I have some friends out in the San Jose area, and they're always the playoff times. It always seems really weird, but they always win the series. So no, I'm going Blues, and then the Sharks will win 3 in a row.
They got the Cardinals. They're good.
All right, so then we also have game 2 of the Warriors-Portland series. I do believe you said that the Warriors were 8-point favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Warriors 8 points.
8 points. I'm taking the Warriors in that anyways.
Yeah, you and I are taking the Warriors. He's taking Portland.
And you're going to
sprinkle a little bit on the money line.
Josh is going to be sprinkling on the money line. So he likes Portland. So we'll see what happens. Also, honestly, I'm taking the Bruins. I don't even know what the fuck they're doing. It's a sweep.
Yeah,
so we're all taking the Bruins in the next game.
Yeah, I hate to do it, but
Bruins.
Man, we're so square. Yeah, a lot of square picks in here.
It's down to the Charlotte Checkers.
I'll give an afternoon special for any Major League Baseball fans out there who just so happen to watch this.
Well, as we continue to
3:45,
as we continue to do this show, we're going to go ahead and probably switch over to baseball a little bit. I'm going to start following baseball a little bit more now. It's getting closer to summertime.
Yeah,
and NBA and NHL playoffs are going to be over, so baseball will become kind of a thing I start following more. So we'll start talking about that a little bit more later on. But anyways, go ahead with your...
I'll give a degenerate special. 3:45, Arizona and the Pirates play. The Diamondbacks and the Pirates. And I actually like under 8 runs for the game. So 3:45, and any degenerates out there who try to get rid of work and need something to watch. Watching unders are terrible. So before I sign out, watching unders is not for the faint of heart. So if ever you bet an under, just make the bet and don't watch the game. Because there's nothing worse than watching a game hoping no one scores.
Soccer is actually a little bit easier. Well, we didn't even talk soccer, but we have
the FA Cup is Saturday. That's the only one that's up close. The championship is not until June 1st.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Actually, the biggest money game in all of sports, but I think that's not until next weekend. The playoff from the championship level to who gets into the Premier League in England.
Yeah, that'll be kind of a...
Because that's basically a difference of $120 million.
We'll discuss that, and then next week we'll finally get a chance to discuss that ridiculous pyramid that Shaq posted on his Instagram about tiers and players, because I want to tear that thing apart. So I can't wait. Looking forward to that, guys, next week. And also we'll let you guys know how we did this week in our plays. And any sign-offs there, Josh?
Twitter, @JCovers704. Also, suspense for next week. Jere and Bukkake Josh will let us know what we are betting on for the mythical series of the Bucks and Warriors. Jere and Bukkake Josh will have that wager ready for us.
For you and I?
What the wager? It's not money. They're going to pick the wager of what we're wagering for that series.
I will do the entire live broadcast of this show shirtless.
Nobody wants that to happen.
Anyways, Jerry, do you have a plug at all?
That would be me losing the bet.
Everybody wins. We're all winners when that happens. Anyways, Jerry, any plug for you?
John Wick opens Friday.
That's the next podcast, Jerry. We didn't even get a chance to talk about this on sports. Did you see that Memphis has the #1 recruiting class in basketball?
I'm not surprised about this. I was going to expend a ridiculous amount of time that I chose to delete on a comment of your Facebook post. It's like, it's not a transfer. He never enrolled in Duke. It's not a transfer.
It wasn't a transfer. I apologize.
And then I backed out of this. It's like, why am I wasting my time on semantics when I can just tell you face to face?
Yeah, no, it wasn't a transfer.
But it is a big deal that one of the commitments, Boogie Ellis,
decommitted from Duke to go play for Penny Hardaway.
And those are separate days. So I saw the decommitting from Duke, and I thought that was kind of odd.
Last week.
Yeah, and then the
because you don't really see that very often. You don't see a guy decommitting.
Not in basketball.
But I do believe he's a point guard, and with Trey Jones returning, you know what? That might be why.
But the thing is, if Boogie Ellis has any type of shot, he'll play. And the other thing is, up until the Tyus Jones, Jaleel Okafor, Justice Winslow championship, Duke typically plays better and wins titles when they have 2 point guards type players on the court. It's when Jay Williams and they added the young kid from Louisville. We can't remember the point guard after him. When they played together, that's when the team took off and then won.
Oh yeah, well when they have
they play two point guards or 2 ball handlers.
Well, yeah, when you have the reason why they won that year actually was I think Grayson Allen. And also,
I'm thinking of the third one, the 2001.
I thought you were talking about 2000.
The 2001 title.
Well, the year Grayson Allen, when we won the title in 2015, it was Grayson Allen and Jones.
Yeah, but I mean,
Trey Jones' brother, Tyus.
But Grayson Allen didn't really get an impact until the run. The run that mattered. Yeah.
And then there was the 2009 championship when we beat Butler, and Zubac actually became a viable option.
And then Siegler and the other guy.
Siegler's still in the league, by the way.
Which is ridiculous.
Right?
But no, Oklahoma City?
Penny Hardaway recruiting the #1. Coming out of nowhere, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I haven't really been following.
Nope, not out of nowhere. And this is one of the things why Hardaway got the coach. is the job.
This is his first year, right? He didn't coach last year, did he?
This past season, he
was
did
his
coach,
first season,
but he didn't really have any of the recruits because he didn't get hired until basically after that recruiting class. He has been the premier high school basketball coach in Memphis, though, for the last 4 or 5 seasons.
Oh, really?
And he's from Memphis. He's a Memphis legend.
Well, I knew he was a Memphis legend,
and so he's been coaching the high school team, and then like his first 2 commitments were guys that played for him in high school, and he was involved in the high school thing. So he's walled off Memphis. Nobody is now coming into Arkansas would do that, and then a couple of other LSU would kind of go up into Memphis or Ole Miss or somebody else because just playing on the fact that Memphis wasn't in a big conference. And the key to Memphis is if you can keep your players in state, which is like New York City basketball. St. John's used to be able to keep New York City guys in town. They can't do that.
Going to Duke.
And then Villanova, the Big 5 schools would keep the Philadelphia guys. They weren't able to do that. But once some of the schools can at least hold their ground, like Duke can't win by only recruiting North Carolina because they'll lose to North Carolina in North Carolina. They have to recruit nationally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but Memphis.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The fact that Duke got Zion was a huge deal.
That was pretty impressive. But
coming from Spartanburg and out recruiting Carolina, and his first choice was USC.
Which the thing is, like, USC it's funny that exists and that's said out there. That was never going to happen.
Well, that's because that was just probably his school growing up where he like rooted for.
Clemson was more of a.
You were the Clemson fan?
Well, his stepfather was a Clemson alum. He played basketball there, as I recall, or some. He was from a Clemson. The Clemson connections were closer than the South Carolina.
But no, what you're saying actually makes a lot of sense about New York. Philadelphia and Villanova, they've been able to recruit in-state.
They've been able to hold
on their ground. And Memphis has a pretty big basketball.
Well, the previous coach, he's I think the in-between coach, because the coach
Calipari and
after that was the guy that's at Georgia Tech now took over for Calipari, and he was pretty good and held that down. And then there was the guy in between who just alienated all of the high school coaches there, and people would say. But Hardaway gets there. He immediately gets one of the top 5 guys in the class because he actually coached him, was already a pre-commit, and then he has like a younger brother, I believe, or some other teammate. And so that already put Memphis back on the map. And then there's, I want to get to the league. Who would know better than a guy that played in the league? And then
he came in as a freshman.
He was a top. No, he played through his junior year.
Did he?
Yes.
Oh.
It was.
I was a little too young when that happened.
Let me remember if this is right. Yes, because the David Vaughn.
Penny's first year was 93 or 94.
He was the
93 because that was the year. Yeah, 93. That was when the Rockets lost to Magic, and he was
the year
starting.
after. He was the year after Shaq.
Yeah, I know. Shaq was 92, 91?
92.
92. Yeah. So the following year,
93 was
that Penny as a rookie. And Shaq went to the finals.
91-92 was Larry Johnson as the number 1 pick. 92-93 was Shaq as the number 1 pick. Hornets were second. So picked Alonzo Mourning. And then the year after that, Orlando wins the lottery again, so they have the number 1 pick, and then they trade Chris Webber to Golden State for Anthony Hardaway, who I think was in the third, and also like 3 number 1 picks and Ronnie Cycli and whatever else was going on.
Yeah. But no, Penny. I know what you're saying. It makes a little bit of sense. But they kind of out of nowhere came and undercut a program like Duke and Kentucky that had the number 1 recruiting class in the country.
Well, it's because I think he might through the AAU things. I don't know where Bowden Ellis is from, but he might have known him through the AAU things because he was
a high school coach,
and some of his friends might be over there. And I'm sure the Tyus Jones thing doesn't help.
No, Trey Jones.
Trey Jones
deciding to stay probably did not help because I'm pretty sure. Prior to him making that commitment, he was pretty much under the assumption that Trey was going to go pro, and that's become another thing that's affecting Duke basketball is the fact that they're not able to keep anyone really unless they are just a complete flame.
Well,
out.
You say that, but I think that has a lot.
Bolden,
that has a lot more to do with their coach because once the season kicks in, he plays 7 guys, and people know this. I mean, Kentucky still gets 4 or 5 guys every time, and even when a couple of people stay, nobody decommits because he plays 9 to 10 guys. Mm-hmm. And if you're a McDonald's All-American, you're like, I know I'm one of the 6 best guys on this team.
It doesn't really make any sense though for Coach K to do that because their biggest issue since 2015 is depth. and bringing in guys like O'Connell and all these other guys who really.
Well, and that's the weird thing is, and oddly, going back to, there was an article talking about average players played per game in college football, and Clemson plays on average 75 different players per game, and then Oregon was second at like 62 players per game, and everybody else after that is like in the mid to high 50s. So effectively, you're playing your first and second string and your specialty guys, and then maybe 6 other guys. Whereas at 72, you're going 3 deep across the board. So if somebody gets hurt or something happens, you're putting somebody in who's played meaningful minutes or played a lot, and played with their teammates and everything's unfamiliar. Whereas Duke in the first part of the game, he plays maybe 8 or 9 guys, figure out who 5, 6, and 7 are. And those he just runs with those 7 guys, and then through the ACC tournament, people get hurt, they get tired, and then he needs those other guys. Yeah. But now they don't have the experience and not used to it.
It just doesn't really make sense what he's been doing.
Right. Especially when, like this past year, there's 4 NBA players on the team. 3 of them are going to be drafted in the first round this year in Jones.
The fact that Cam Reddish is still projected to be a top 10 pick is boggling my mind.
Well, because it's not.
He's getting drafted.
It's not about production. It's about potential.
Potential, but he's actually placed ahead of Nasser Little.
No, yeah, I saw him as his high as 6 or 7.
I've seen Nasser Little falling as far back as 17.
Yeah, I've seen him falling back. I'm saying
and Cam Reddish is at 7. Yeah. That's ridiculous. But granted, Nasser Little I thought did not live. He was a top. He was
a top 5 recruit.
Top 5 recruit. Cam Reddish was number 3, and Zion was actually number 2 going into this year. Ironically enough, and R.J. Barrett was actually the number 1 recruit. And given the fact that R.J. now is going to probably be the 3rd pick in the draft, which I think is actually a better fit for the Knicks personally, but
it doesn't help them at all.
It doesn't.
Which is great.
Not immediately, but it could be long term.
What do you care about the Duke players that go to the pros, or just when they're successful, then you yammer Duke? I mean, do you follow their careers?
I generally tend to follow their careers because I really get sick and tired of these conversations with Carolina fans. Who haven't put in a viable pro since Vince Carter. I have to get into arguments with Carolina fans. They're like, well, what's the last time you had a great...
Viable pro is a terrible phrase because Danny Green has been much more instrumental to, outside of the Kyrie Irving's one shot, to a championship team than a lot of other players from Duke.
Well, this is very true, but I'm just saying, like...
viable is... What I'm saying is, like, how heartbroken are you going to be that R.J. Barrett ends up going to the Knicks and potentially he gets caught in the crossfire of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant's passive-aggressive Twitter hissy fit, and to where he never sees the ball and never has the opportunity. And then, well, the benefit is that the Knicks will trade him. Somebody will swoop in, get him for nothing.
Rescue him, and he becomes...
Get him broken, and he becomes Harden-like.
Or it becomes actually what happened to D'Angelo Russell, who was stuck.
I disagree with that because earlier when you were talking about the maturity issue with Russell, that mattered. I don't think it matters as much for Barrett other than like shot selection, but that's just a shot selection.
I just mean that
a change of scenery.
A change of scenery. Him getting away from 2 potentially toxic players. I'm not saying that Durant is a toxic player, but you know.
Well, that's the thing is like if you were going to be the Knicks / Lakers, and your goal is to whatever it is, but in the Knicks instance, by signing 2 free agent players to max deals, and the Lakers' interest win now. There's no point that you should even think about keeping these picks. You should just offer them to whatever veterans or whatever. Like if you're the Knicks and if you do actually sign those guys, or you got the wink and the nod that you're going to get them, you call around and ask, hey, what do you want at this slot, and then make a deal to get a player that'll help that.
100%. That's why I don't think R.J. Barrett's going to end up being a Knick. He's either going to become a Pelican or he's going to become, who knows? And that's what drives me nuts about what we could have done with Kemba. Well, that's if we had traded Kemba to the Lakers, we'd have a top 4 pick right now, and
we wouldn't have gotten that pick. Not. They would have saved that for the Anthony Davis thing. There's no way that would have happened.
So you're implying that we would have wound up with what pick then?
But no, we would have just ran up with a bag of bones of whatever players.
Oh, you don't think we would have gotten a pick for Kemba?
It wouldn't have been this year. It would have ended up being in 2 years when they're in the finals, and then it's like a 29th pick, and that would mean anything.
Given the luck of the Hornets, you're completely correct.
Well, I mean, that's
me personally. So we didn't even get a chance to really talk about this before. You were asking about who would I like The Hornets are drafted at the 12th spot.
Well, yes. Well, I asked who you'd seen in the
I saw
mocks.
P.J. Washington.
The other one that I'd seen, which I was kind of
I want Bobo.
is the very first mock I saw, it had Bobo going after the Hornets to the Heat, and I got so angry reading it, I couldn't read anymore.
Justice Winslow,
But,
the second coming of Justice Winslow going to the Heat?
Well, but I mean, Winslow is MKG with more upside. So, I mean, that's...
us passing on Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, that's different.
From Malik Monk.
But the other one that I saw was it Jackson, the center from Texas?
Oh, yeah.
I would like that one. That one I would like, which means we're definitely not getting that one.
Well, no, I saw... what's his face from Gonzaga following down to like 16?
Clark, yeah, 6 years. No, the Spurs.
No.
I saw one mock where Clark went to the Spurs.
There's two different.
I've seen a Bleacher Report one. I've seen a CBS Sports one.
There's two different Gonzaga players that I'm interested in.
Ree Hachimura. I saw going to like the Nets.
Yeah, I've seen Hachimura following.
That would be good for them.
All the way to like the 15 range.
But like Clark going to San Antonio would be a great thing for him and San Antonio.
Well, yeah. But as of right now, I hate why do these websites do slideshows?
So the interesting thing with Memphis, and this is where the Knicks could really totally get hosed, is if Memphis can't find anybody to take right now, they're quietly calling anybody who wants Conley and see whether they might
100%.
But if they can't find a trade partner for Conley, do they still draft Morant?
Yes.
Do you sit a guy making $120 million? Do you find a way to make them play together?
I think they find a way to make them play together. You could shift Morant to the 2. Given his explosiveness and the way he plays the game.
Well, it'll give him the opportunity early in his career when it doesn't matter because Memphis isn't going to win to work on his outside shot.
Exactly. So it'll give him an opportunity.
Because the rest of the stuff isn't going away.
No, his passing ability, which he's most known for.
And his explosiveness.
That's not going to go anywhere. He's got a better... It looks like he's got a better eye and about the same kind of, from what I've seen, the same type of athletic ability as, say, of a Westbrook. Mm-hmm. So, but with a better shot.
Well, that type of motor without the obstinance that comes with it.
I mean, the guy, he averaged 25 and 10 and 6 and 2.
But
he's the second coming of Westbrook.
Where was he on leading the nation in scoring? Was he a top 10 guy on that?
No, I thought he did lead the nation in scoring.
So he was the first guy to lead the nation in scoring and assists ever or in like 30, 40 years or something. Some ridiculous thing.
Ridiculous day. But Hunter, they got... All right, so I'm looking at NBA.com. They got... Or CBS NBA. They got Lakers getting DeAndre Hunter. They got the Cavs getting Jarrett Culver, which could be a nice fit.
How disappointing for Lakers fans / Hunter to see that you could potentially be drafted with the Lakers. Oh, I can work with LeBron when it's like totally a trade piece where he's going to have a terrifically successful NBA career. And Lakers fans, after LeBron leaves, whatever happens, are just going to watch.
Wish they kept him.
And which is what, if Cleveland had kept Wiggins, they would have been much better off than older versions.
Well, I genuinely think that Wiggins, his career would have benefited greatly from having LeBron, and LeBron would have benefited greatly from him, because what's Wiggins' biggest knock is his motor and his lack of defensive play. And I don't think that LeBron would have been like, nah, bro, you're going to go out there. Because going into the draft, they're like, this kid can play defense. He can guard 4 positions. He's going to be really good at defense. And what's the one thing he hasn't done at all? Play defense. Even with Thibodeau being his coach, which only goes to show,
I mean,
what do we know?
If he could have played with LeBron, and LeBron said, look, you want to stay on the court with these guys that are coming in here, you got to play defense. And he would have played that. And he would have got
Vogel being hiring at the Lakers. I don't know.
That means nothing because he signed specifically for the 3-year deal. It means nothing.
I don't.
I mean, I've seen some people say it's like, oh, that means LeBron's definitely traded. No, it doesn't. It means nothing.
I think it might.
If he signed for 5 years, now it means something because now the Lakers have tied themselves to somebody there longer than they've tied themselves to LeBron.
They got Culver going to the Cavs. I think he could be a good prospect.
It's like the Cavs got 2 with Sexton and Culver. It's 2 really good players with a lot of upside, but their 2 weaknesses are not complementary, and it will not be helpful to the team. All they have to do is get out from under the Kevin Love contract.
And then the Suns somehow luck into getting Darius Garland, a point guard when they need a point guard.
Well, I mean that's the thing. It's if they could not end up second, which is exactly where they wanted, where they fell to is the place that works because. Cleveland has a point guard, so they're not going to draft one. And who was it? The interesting thing. Okay, so I would, if I was the Pels, I would still be listening to the Knicks because they have the third pick.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the third pick. They have Dennis Smith. So you could get Dennis Smith, that pick, one of their young wing players or something. Then they get Anthony Davis or whatever.
And they can still take.
They get Zion Williamson.
They get Zion and R.J. Barrett.
And they get R.J. Barrett. And they have Dennis Smith.
And Dennis Smith, that would be a really.
And then
really...
you still have Randall, and you still have Holiday. Mm-hmm. So Dennis Smith can and Holiday can both play off and in between. They can both play that. Then you have Williamson and Barrett, and then you have Randall. And then all of a sudden, it's like that's kind of a fun team.
You have a great core.
And then with Williamson and Barrett, who obviously know each other
and enjoy playing with each other,
and if they do like that, and if you have both of them together, the opportunity, the possibility of keeping them together exists.
Yeah.
And Dennis Smith is not a bad player. He just didn't fit with Dallas because Doncic is the ball handler.
He's a ball handler, primarily ball handler. He's a point forward.
And then with Dennis Smith, with that, now you can attack your opponents, if you're New Orleans, from straight at the point from Dennis Smith, from the wing with R.J. Barrett, or from the wing with a ridiculously impossible to defend Zion Williamson, and then you still have Randall.
You can put Drew, and you can actually put Drew at the 2. Or actually, Dennis Smith. Actually, I think Dennis Smith would be better suited as a 2.
Yeah, and then
have Drew Holiday run the point.
Because now you're using Smith's athleticism because you can throw alley oops to him off of
all
back picks from Williamson or Randall.
That pick and roll game right there would be beautiful.
And then you have Okafor on the second team, who Okafor will whatever rotation of these guys that they play, they can put up some points.
Yeah, no, that would be a very fun team to watch, which means we're not going to get that.
But I mean, it's like because you can. I mean, look, obviously Dennis Smith is the guy that you're looking at. That pick, and then if you throw Anthony Davis out there, you can get more picks out of them because they'll sacrifice the whole boat just to get him, and then potentially either Irving or Durant, one of them,
all three of them.
Well, no, because you don't want to take on money back from the Knicks. You just they have the money available, so you only want like Smith, some picks, and then maybe one other wing guy. They don't have Hardaway anymore. Is Glenn Robinson Jr. still there?
I think he is.
So I mean, you get a wing guy who have the opportunity to shoot because he'll be the best shooter of that group of people. I wouldn't. I mean, if I'm
the Pelicans, I'm listening to the Knicks more than I'm listening to the Lakers.
Yes, because I mean,
Lakers have that 4 pick. And they have a bunch of great prospects.
I mean, Dennis Smith is still on a rookie deal. I think it's his 3rd year that he's coming into. Glenn Robinson's already signed whatever contract he has. And even though getting out from under Davis's, you're still saving tons of money. You can still re-sign Randall. And now you have
a core.
You have Williamson and Barrett
that you can build around
with Randall. Randall's now going to be looking. It's like I want to hang out with these guys.
And Randall coming from another blue blood school and who's been kind of shat on. He should never been traded,
but had a great. He was completely ignored by the Lakers. No, he left as a free agent. They just didn't offer anything.
No, he got shat on by the Lakers, basically saying.
And Okafor had the same. So and Randall and Okafor both was like, oh, this team believed in us.
Yeah.
And now they look in. It's like, oh, they're making an effort. And now you're out from under the contract obligations. That money you can go ahead and sign these guys, and you'll have money. You can keep Drew Holiday. You can keep Randall. The other guys now will work with that. And then if they show that they can play together, go ahead and just throw the money at it.
Okafor's still only, 23, 24?
It's irrelevant how old he is. He's never going to be a starting NBA center. But if you can provide points off the bench as a second team, you'll be really successful, which he can do. He can score points. He can't do much else. But if you can get 12 points off the bench as a center, you'll survive for a long time.
Talk about a poor kid that came into the league at the wrong time.
Oh, God.
This was 1998.
He was the best post scorer in college basketball in probably 20 years.
I'd ever seen. Almost. For me personally, I've ever seen. I mean, to me, he was basically, oh, God, what was his name?
Probably not since Tim Duncan was somebody that good on the block.
Well, no. Who...
and he was probably
Hornet, Big Al.
Oh,
his game reminded me a lot of Big Al.
Yeah.
Not very athletic, but had ball moves around the rim that you just were hard to defend.
Yeah, you can't defend.
You can't defend. But anyways, Kobe White to the Bulls makes sense to me.
They need a point guard of some sort, and he can play.
Better than Dunn.
He can play both. He can play some.
Nasir Little to the Hawks.
If he played to the consistency instead of not driving to the basket in the very last play against Duke in the ACC tournament, they would have won all 3 games.
They would have.
And then all of a sudden he froze up.
Nasir Little to the Hawks.
That's an athletic choice. They've got Collins.
They have Trae Young.
Who finished very strong last year, and they're adding an athletic player with some potential. That's a pretty safe.
Young would have been, if it weren't for the fact that Luka had just from start to finish
statistically unbelievable season.
Unbelievable season, which everyone. There's only a few people I talked to who like, who the hell is Luka Doncic? He's not gonna do shit. I'm like, you don't know basketball.
Yeah.
But those are the same people who are out here arguing. Those are the same people out here arguing with me about abortion and climate change.
No,
we're not going to bring that up.
With Trae and Collins and adding Little, that's an exciting kind of athletic.
Romeo Langford to the Wizards.
That's a point guard guy.
Shooting guard from Indiana. Hawks get Jackson Hayes from Texas. And then Cam Reddish.
So that's 2 picks for the Hawks in the top 10?
Yep.
That's terrific for them because now they got the rim protector. It allows Collins to roam a little more.
The Hawks are going to be, you know what, it's always amazing.
They'll have pieces.
It always feels like the Hawks who, remember that, they're just a few years a few years ago they were the number 1 seed in the East.
They're 4 years removed from a 20 plus game winning streak and 60-win season with 4 All-Stars.
Yep. Yeah. And they're going to reload.
And by the way, where are those guys? Corver, who was on Utah, Millsap, who was in Denver, and Horford, that was on Boston. All of them key pieces for playoff teams.
Yep. Yeah. And then the Hawks, get Jackson Hayes, who would be a pretty good power forward / center.
He's center. I mean, he's a center now.
Cam Reddish to the Timberwolves.
Oh, that's unfortunate for him.
I know, right? And then P.J. Washington to the Hornets.
That's the Kentucky guy. Meh.
He's a sophomore.
Meh. I mean, I like that he's a sophomore, but it's like meh.
Now there's this one kid.
Who do they have going to Miami right after?
Sekou Doumbouya.
Oh, from
France.
Yes.
Who's from Guinea.
Yeah, one of the other guys.
Who is a kid I would love. I just really started reading up on him about a couple weeks ago. He's 6'9" with an 8'11" wingspan.
Yeah.
You know who he kind of reminds me of? That guy for the Bucks right now, who's kind of a small frame, long range, and we don't have. What's the last guy the Hornets drafted that has the prototypical like freak wingspan was Noah Vonleh, and we gave up on him after a season.
Well, I mean, we say that we gave up on a season. He did not have the opportunity to even play that one
exactly, season. And that was because who was our coach at the time?
And now who's he with? He's with Portland, providing some minutes off the bench,
providing some minutes, and he's very comparable as far as measurements goes to that guy from France, who's actually from Guinea.
But the thing with those international players that are when they're 18, they're like 18. Even though they've probably been playing professional basketball because I think they were in the Euro Cup final, the guy from France there, is that you really have to, either they come in and they just like a house on fire like Doncic, or they need a year or two to work their way in like Antetokounmpo, who still was really good his rookie year, but you have to have the patience and to let them play and work themselves through that. And the Hornets haven't seemed to show the history of
Jordan and also our previous coach.
Well, the previous coach did not like playing rookies.
And also, this new guy didn't really seem to be like playing
He played young guys more, but it's unfortunate.
He didn't do it until the end.
Well, it's unfortunate looking at the statistics of the season. The Hornets started off above 500 when Batum was injured and Dwayne Bacon was playing. And Bacon was a pretty solid second, third scorer. And then he was more or less exiled to the D-League for the bulk of the rest of the season. And the last stretch when the Hornets
almost
kind of decided to tank. They play the young guys. They have Bridges and Bacon starting. They use Monk and Devontae Graham a little more as Parker is playing less, and they just kind of get hot and get on a run and start working their way back up toward the playoffs. And
snuck in as an 8 seed.
Every single fan and in the building watching the other time is like, why have you been playing Dwayne Bacon the entire season? Look at the games that we could have won during the time. Because there was a 2-game difference in the playoffs, of which during the regular season we lost to the Knicks and Cleveland and Atlanta, and those are 3 of the worst teams. And it's like
it came down to tiebreakers.
You win those 3 games, you're in.
You know, it's the funny thing is, even when we're trying to fail, we fuck up, and once again, we're drafting the same range that we've been drafting seemingly, as far as I'm concerned, since the moment we became the Hornets again. aside from a few picks here and there.
Yeah, it's like, oh, let's play all the young guys and see what we have so we can lose out and get a better position. It's like, oh no, they're better than we thought. Yeah, they were unsuccessful in trying to be unsuccessful.
They failed at being unsuccessful, which is about the most Hornets thing I can possibly think of. Because I posted the moment I saw that we were drafting 12, I'm like, what's the definition of insanity? I don't fucking know. Ask the Hornets, because they repeat the same mistakes year after year, as opposed to just tearing it all down and rebuilding. We go ahead and just fucking play for the 8th seed one way or another. And it doesn't even, in this past year, it was just by accident we're playing for the 8th seed.
And the thing that's frustrating is, like, it doesn't even need to be like Philadelphia. Philadelphia's project was like 5 or 6 years of their tear down.
Well, yeah, because everyone forgets that they drafted Ben Simmons, Embiid, they drafted Jahlil Okafor, and they drafted Markelle Fultz
and Nerlens Noel and NBA Rookie of the Year James Carter Finley.
So that's 6 players right there that they drafted.
Of James Carter Finley, who was too successful at the time, so they traded him like after his rookie year. Because
I thought it was Michael Carter Williams.
Michael Carter Williams. James Carter Finley, the other one. Michael Carter Williams. But he was the Rookie of the Year drafted by that. That was like the first of the group, and they're like, no, we can't be. We've got to not win with him.
Yeah. Then they drafted him. Then I think next year they got
Noel Okafor, because I think Noel was over. Noel Okafor.
Yeah, Noel came out in 2014.
And then Embiid, and then they had the 3 centers, so they trade Noel, and then they trade Okafor, and then they draft Simmons, and both of those guys are on the Philadelphia red shirt.
And then they draft another point guard in Markelle Fultz, which didn't make any sense to me.
Well, especially since at that time they had already seen Ben Simmons on the floor, or the decision was that he was going to be the guard.
Or they could have drafted Tatum. Imagine if that team had actually just think this for just a hypothetical. If they were putting out Simmons, followed by, let's just say, Redick.
Well, no, it would have been Simmons, Covington, Redick.
So, yeah,
Tatum. They still would have had the guy that they traded to Minnesota for Butler, and then Embiid. But Covington and that guy went to Minnesota. Saric.
Dario Saric.
Saric would have been the power forward. They would have had Covington still off the bench,
and then they would have Embiid,
and they could have still made the Tobias Harris trade, and so then they could have gotten. They still would have had Tobias Harris. So then they could have gone Simmons, Redick, Harris, Tatum, or Saric was starting, and one of those guys coming off the bench, and then Embiid.
Saric would have been to the bench. Yeah. And Embiid. That team wins. I think that team wins the East.
Well, that team becomes the 2nd seed. Or they become the 3rd seed rather than the 4th.
Or they win the East, and then also because there'd be no Kyrie there, and Tatum can actually hit shots from the 3. Or he was at one point in the season prior to Kyrie being hurt. I think he was. Or last year he was shooting 40%.
Last year he was the leading 3-point shooter in the NBA for most of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And both he and not Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier just got less minutes, but both he and Jaylen Brown regressed
tremendously.
And it's not all because Hayward was coming in and taking the minutes. It's because even when Hayward wasn't on the floor, when he decided to go to the bench and come off of that, there wasn't the opportunity and the shots and the ability.
Well, Hayward was also not even the same player.
No, and
he hasn't even been the same player for the last 2 years.
Well, I mean that Paul George shows it's a 2-year recovery, and during the playoffs he started to get back to where he was. It was closer because it had been now at that point almost 18, 19 months after the injury. Yeah. So it was closer to that. So, I mean, next year, it'll be interesting to see how the Celtics avoid making a huge mistake with what they have. And again, if I'm the Pels, I'm still talking to the Knicks. It's like, you give us that 3rd pick, you give us Dennis Smith, maybe a couple of picks in the future, and the Knicks aren't thinking of the future, so they'll get them from them, and then maybe one of the other wing guys. And now all of a sudden, you can remake your entire team that's all young and exciting, and everybody in New Orleans is happy about that. The Knicks think that they won, and it's like, well, now you got to saddle yourself with the Anthony Davis thing and find your way to win around it, which nobody thinks you can do.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. I would love to see RJ and Zion be on the same team. It'd be very fun. They had a very good dynamic together at Duke. It was fun to watch.
They found a way to make it. I mean, they both, between the two of them, they averaged 45 points a game.
They found a way to win together.
And if they can come close to that, and all of a sudden it's like now we have 2 starters that are giving us between 35, 40 points a game. It's like you've won in that trade, because you trade an NBA All-Star and you get back 2 starters that are giving you more points and rebounds combined.
And also theoretically, Zion could very well just be an All-Star
Well, the thing is,
he's got all-star in his rookie season potential.
But if you're New Orleans now and you have both the 1 and the 3 picks and you get Barrett and Zion, now you have an immediate marketing thing. Now you have something that other players are like, maybe I might want to play with that. Maybe I want to go over there.
And given how the NBA tends to do their all-star game,
they can't go back to New Orleans for like 2 decades.
Well, no. What I'm saying is all but cert. It's all. I'm pretty much
both of them. Yeah.
You can pretty much guarantee that no matter how Zion plays this year, I think he makes the All-Star game. As a rookie.
Well, you don't have to worry about that because he's going to be in the dunk contest and he's going to be in the Rising Stars competition.
No, but I think he's going to be an All-Star.
Well,
even if he's only putting like 15-10.
Oh no! Well, the thing is, I don't even think we have to worry about the NBA for that. I think that's going to be the fans.
No, that's what I was saying. The fan voting. He's got such a mass appeal and he's got 3.2 million Instagram followers. He's probably going to be huge. For some reason, he screams China.
Oh, he absolutely does.
China's going to love him.
There are more NBA fans in China than there are people in the United States.
Yeah. The China loves the NBA. There's a reason why Kobe and some of these players were managed to be all-stars well beyond.
I was wearing a Hornets hat in Australia, and the guy said, it's like, oh, I'm a huge Bulls fan. I can't believe we lost to you. Like the last game that we had at home before I came to Australia, it's like he knew the schedule, which gets played at lunch over there.
Yeah, no, I remember in Canada when I was living up there, I was wearing a Hornets shirt, and guys are like, oh my God, you from Charlotte? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, we fly to Charlotte all the time when we go to Myrtle Beach to go golfing. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, huh, I didn't realize Canadians love golfing in Myrtle Beach.
Oh no, it's a huge thing.
Well, Myrtle Beach is the huge thing for golfing in general, but for Canadians in particular, Canadians love Myrtle Beach.
That is a true story.
I was like, ooh. Anyways, let's go ahead and I'm going to be editing that whole segment into the other podcast.
And we'll separate that sports thing into the other sports thing.
Yeah, I'm going to put that sports thing into the other sports thing because it's been a kind of a slow week as far as geek culture. Anyways, this is John Simon for Simon Says Bets, and everyone have a great week.